Isn't it crazy how just going forward 1 hour, time just catches up with you so fast? Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to a new segment, a new element to the show I called it Watch Report. I don't know what the theme is exactly, but it's going to be a good time. It's a little bit of a different subject. This is not wrist shot week, obviously, as the title on the screen tells you. The description of the show is pretty much summed up in the title of this video, but I need to get to the chat and say hi to you all. And we can get started. I see Megan's in the chat. Welcome, Megan. Matt, Jean-Claude Beaver, he's not going to be with us for today. I think it's early hours in the morning on Sunday there. Brent, Idle Time, Design Atelier, welcome. Thomas, B-Dev, Chaz from the Berg. It's so good having you all here. Thank you. I see Mark as well. Many, many more. Q Maestro, pleasure having you. Eric, always a joy. Sam Ray, and so many more of you. Welcome. Tag me in the chat if you want. If you want to ask me a question, as we do. New chair squad. I still don't have that new chair yet. I'm going to wait until the end of this month, technically, for all of that to come through. But it's going to be good. I'm really excited for that. And welcome again, everyone. I see Hans. I see the Chidge. Mark P. Welcome. So let's try and address this theme, this subject to the show. Watch Report, I called it, as sort of like an underscore to what will hopefully eventually become something a bit more mainstream if we ever have a subject to discuss relating to, new releases or whatever else. And designers are asking me, what whiskey am I on? Tonight I'm drinking Glenlivet Caribbean. What's it called? Caribbean Reserve. And it's got an awesome banana nose to it, which is quite special. Never experienced it before. Also got the whiskey and the water and the coffee and all that. Just going to take a hit from the water and I'll be with you. So I have no idea how this show is going to go. I'm flying by the seat of my pants. But just before I get the watches up on screen, the summary is that I've struggled to find any valid place on this platform to look through watches over the course of a year. There's so many watch releases that happen behind the scenes that we never see, that are never spoken about often, they're never mentioned. And the thinking is to have a segment where once every 3 months, every quarter, we have a show that sort of caps off 40 or 35 of the best watches that we've seen over the last, a couple of months. And it condenses, but also lets us see a lot in one space. So, you're watching back over Q3 and you want to know what happened in Q1. This is the summary. So it should be a good time. Let me try and sum up how it's going to work, and we'll see. We'll see if it works out properly. So on the left-hand side of the screen, I have made a slideshow of watches for us to look at. And then on the right side of the screen, we're going to have articles, we're going to have blog posts and everything there. So when we link to each watch, we're going to be talking about it. I'll have it on the left-hand side for you to enjoy looking at. And then on the right-hand side, the articles. Yeah, it should be okay. Should be fun, I hope. So as it says in the title of the video, January to March. And this is in chronological order too, which is also going to be helpful, maybe. I don't know. Who knows? It's going to be fun. Design Atelier, you did also say something about very appropriate for my Caribbean taste. Yeah. I mean, you're from Curacao, right? Not Curacao. Yeah, my gran grew up in Curacao. Amazing part of the world. It's close to Curacao. Where you're in Aruba. Marcello, welcome. It's going to be a good time. Like a Ridley Scott film, that I've done that. To the rest of you all, it's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for joining into the show. I don't expect it to be a very popular segment, but it's a time for us to sit back, relax, chat about a whole range of watches, as we normally do. I hope you have your feet up. I hope you're having an excellent Easter weekend too. That's something else to add. Just enjoying these next 3 days. Right. So BDev asking, it's going to be a long one. I don't know if it's going to be a 4 hour. No, we have 38 watches to look at, right? So I'm thinking it'll probably be around the 2.5, 3 hour mark. Hopefully, I don't know. There's just no knowing with these discussions half the time, but it's going to take a bit more concentration from my end because I'm going to be scrolling, speed reading, and also talking about the design of the watch and getting to the chat. And so I hope this is going to be a nice back and forth between us discussing these pieces and everything there. We are covering everything from Omega to, MB&F and micro brands like, I don't know, Code 41, wouldn't call them a micro brand, Oris, Brashear, lots of pieces. As I've seen some from Samurai saying Oris with the whale shark GMT release. I think I might have missed that one. That's another issue. 45 minutes, Eric. That's another issue. that I might have missed a few articles. It's very possible. So you might have to correct me. You might have to help steer and direct the course somewhere else. But Rick, pleasure having you here too, and so many more of you. It's an absolute joy. We're gonna have fun. And I see Morton joining from China. Wow, welcome. You're very welcome here. So let's begin. Right, how long have I been talking for? I don't know. My live stream hasn't updated, so let me refresh the page and have a look. Done the introduction long enough. Let's see. Been running for 5 minutes. Okay, awesome. So let's get into it. We're going to start with watch number 1, which is the Speedmaster Professional. Can you believe that this piece came out like quite literally the 3rd or something of January? It was crazy. So of course we're starting with January to begin this segment. This watch has been spoken about enough. I mean, many in the chat own this piece already, and there's been some controversy around its build quality and that too. Lots of controversy around its pricing and where it's sitting at the moment and how people are feeling about the watch and the way it presents itself. I mean, I was really impressed. I think I am still, mentally, I'm still very impressed with how this watch was done and the final result. We will be chatting about the Seamaster 300 by the end of the show, since that was one of the last releases of, March this year. But they did a good job here. The thing I tried to, when I made the video discussing the release, I thought what they've done is added all these little elements that increase the complexity of the watch when it's on the wrist for the owner. So it makes it a much more, engaging watch for someone to wear it as a daily. And I think Mark might also attest to that. The detail, he did have the original too, but he's just picked up one of these recently and says that the detail is something that does drive him to want to wear it more. But then you notice that this is not on a bracelet in the photograph. How's the presentation, by the way? And how's the imagery? I don't even know if it looks good on your end. Maybe comment 1 in the chat if it sounds good and looks good. Who knows? This is going to be fun. Half the time it's good to wing it, because then doing anything freestyle, you feel a bit more accomplished if you get it right. So it looks okay. The presentation's fine. Thank you all. I hope it's nice enough to see. It's quite a cool idea having the blogs up. So I'll be able to read through specs if you're interested. And thank you. I'm getting lots of ones. That's awesome. Absolute pleasure. And all of you here still joining, I haven't said hi to, welcome. If you'd like to ask me some questions, tag me in the chat. I've got some separate pages open where we can have a look at imagery instead of just the watch articles. And if you'd like to ask me something about, I don't know, the inevitable Rolex releases happening in a week's time, that could be good. We've all seen that little teaser trailer. So it should be fun. Gonna slowly get into it, get the creative juices flowing in the brain. Got to get some more alcohol in my system as well. Yeah, so Mark did mention something about the price in the chat. Let's see. I believe it is worth the money with a discount, but a great improvement. Yeah, I think that sums it up pretty well. The discount, I think it's important, especially. They are asking a hell of a lot. I mean, it's an issue when I don't know the reason why. I'm guessing it's because of the movement that they're introducing. But is it justified to add something like £2,000? I think it's around about 2,000, 2,500 on top of what the price of the watch. It's crazy. It's a hell of a jump. Samurai is saying Heslite versus Sapphire. If it was me, I would go with the Sapphire. The case back, all those specs. You want to appreciate this on display, right? And it's just gorgeous. I still don't know the full specification about the movement. Another thing I should emphasize is I haven't read up on every single watch that we're going to be talking about. So yeah, it'll take a little bit of time to work through it, but should be good. Worth it at 5K US, Brent says, in your opinion. I think it's pretty decent, yeah. But yeah, it's talking again about the Sapphire and the Heslite. I'm quite surprised how they just didn't include simple things like polishing on the center links of the bracelet. This element is so, I mean, I'm trying to get another shot up if I can, if there's a render or something easy to look at. Oh, God, I love monochrome watches. Just their articles are sublime. Photography and everything. You notice that I use them a lot in presentations and videos. Welcome, William. Pleasure having you here. The polishing on those center links just adds that little emphasis. The applied logo, that stuff, I think is a pity that they didn't include in the Heslite, being the more traditional piece. Still, awesome looking model. It's a really worthy refresh, I think. They've done a good job. Speaking about Zin, we will see some Zins later on, I think. couple of releases. So again, this is not linked to any specific topic. This is literally a chronological order of some of the most interesting releases that we've seen over the course of the year. Yeah, designers, yeah, there's polishing in the center links for the Sapphire. Yeah, that's why I would opt for it. Just those added touches, a clear case back, applied logo, the polishing on the center links, that stuff just pips it a little bit more. It's a pity that they haven't addressed it, but then you want the Hesselite for the clearness, for that classic finish. So it's very like divided when you talk about, when it comes to looking at the piece. Still, oh, it looks good. I'm loving these live photos. Right, I think we've discussed certified by NASA at IDGuy. Yeah, I do definitely give a thumbs up on this piece. It has been an excellent refresh. As for the Seamaster 300, though, still a bit on the fence. We can have a discussion about that. That'll be happening close to the end of the show, actually, at slide 35 or 37, or Okay, we've chatted about the Speedmaster enough. It is a superb looking model. Touristas saying, how am I doing? I am fantastic. Touristas, very, very well. Having a good weekend, laid back. I hope you're all doing the same, having a nice Easter break. So why is it 42 mil instead of 39.5? And just keeping with their traditional size. I mean, the whole idea of the professional watch was to be something legible, easy to see. And I guess that's what they've tried to, it's what the theme has been ever since it, became a thing in the late 60s. It's a cool looking watch. I love the Sapphire, how they've done it. Anyway, chat about this piece. 1 down, 37 to go. Exactly, B-Dev. And we've been talking for 11 minutes. Don't worry, some we will fly through. Not all of them are going to be as interesting to talk about, but hey. All right, this is a fan favorite, and I think many will enjoy this watch. It's the A385. And the question of, does this pip the A384 the way this dial has been done? I know Thomas Burnett is someone who is chomping at the bit for a watch like this because it is just an absolute gem. A384 is cool, but the A385 just, adds that little bit of an X factor on top of it. Tobacco burst. I'm might need to be corrected. I think I'll probably be able to find an article. February 19th. I'm pretty sure this came out very early on in the year. Maybe I got that completely wrong. This is the original, and this has got nothing to do with tropicalization of the dial. Vitev saying, take your time. Just kidding. No, it's all good. Who knows how long this show is going to be. I don't have any schedule. I don't have 100+ wrist shots to go through. So it should just be nice to sit down, engage with the chat a bit more, be a bit more open about the subject. And yeah, again, the variety is beautiful. So this watch never tropicalized. This is in fact how the piece was released. And yeah, it is something else. So it's like what would you call it? A fume tropicalized effect that they're putting on it. And these vintage ads, it's just so awesome. That's what's great about having these articles open, is that you can appreciate all this stuff. Let's see if I can zoom in a bit for you to look at, maybe. I don't know. A384 on the Gay Frere bracelet, A386, A385. Not very often spoken about. Okay, well, I've just noticed this for the first time. It's a reverse panda. Seeing it presented like this, it's quite easy to break it up. We will also be talking about the Chronomaster Sport later on, so that should be a good time. And yeah, man, it's a good way to start the show. Some beautiful pieces that began the year off for us. I must say, that's one thing that has impressed me, and why I think it's worth sharing, is that there were so many nice watches over the course of these 3 months. Very impressive from all brands, and lots of them don't get the coverage they deserve. So hopefully you'll see that. The Zenith would be amazing with a rose gold case. It sure would. It sure would. That's one thing. If you want to have a winning formula with this kind of dial, rose gold would work excellently. And we've seen it. We've seen it so often that a brown dial, tobacco dial, works in virtually all situations, circumstances. I see Bud the Stud joining us. Welcome. Evil Panda Eric. Yeah, it sure is. It sure is. These photos are just sublime. And it's that case. That case is just so recognizable, to the enthusiast. I'm really loving these outlier watches in this category where they're not something that the average person would recognize. You can walk around any part of the world and no one would stop you. So you have to find a very rare person who would recognize what this piece is, what it represents. And again, you know that I have such a soft spot for revival watches when they're done well, and there are quite a lot of them actually in the show. A lot more 70s styles returning, absolutely. Homages like the Tissot PRX, yes, Samurai. It's becoming a big thing. Same with the 50s reeditions. They're everywhere. But then this is what I want to actually address when we get to the Seamaster 300M, is how Omega is trying to like blend both together. The idea of vintage inspirations and modern, taking it in a different direction. And I don't know if it always works. I must say that rose gold bronze looks incredible though. What a combination. Look at that dial too. Oh, it is so nice. So Wristwatch Experience says, I love the original, but I like the darker coffee cappuccino dial in the new one. I must say. Question to ask is, how much more legible is this watch? Would this watch be on the wrist? Do you think that the Panda dial is more effective than the reverse Panda when it comes to being a chronograph? You know, that's something you can also address, is a lot of the time, these watches that are more, what we say, exuberant, expressive, they can sacrifice their functionality in favor of fashion, you know, and I'm putting fashion in quotations as well. It looks very easy to read. Honestly, it does. Those subdials, the spacing, the balancing. Again, I've said this a trillion times, the way that a brand can address its script. And this is something that the modern pieces are not doing, where the vintage, I don't get it. Purely from a design perspective, I know Design Atelier and Marcello will probably agree that when a brand like Zenith has so much in their back catalog, to any brand actually, you know, you can look at Longines, Omega, all those names, they have so many little nuances and inspirations in their back catalog that they can use. Why don't they just pick up on these elements and add them to their modern pieces? Guarantee it would make it so much more attractive, appealing in that area. And then we see it on the wrist. Yeah, these are great. This is from Worn and Wound, this article, by the way. Any more comments and questions? The design is a cycle of history and preference, life visualized. I mean, that's it, design. That's so well. So you have such a profound insight. I got to say, design is a cycle of history and preference. Also linked to what sells and what appeals. It's a very good point. It's like this meeting area. But it says, hope everyone does East. Hope everyone who does East has a great one. Yeah, I agree. Samurai, depends on if some of these watches are rigorously used in military branches. Yeah, that's another one. That's another good reason. And yeah, favoring legibility over fashion. We see that. We're going to see some military-inspired watches that have moved in a bit of a different direction later on too, when we get to the Longines Big Eye Titanium and stuff like that. And Megan says, would love to own this. Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I have definitely found my preference of watches where they have to have a little X factor, something that makes them a bit more charming and fun. And can you imagine the tan lines you get from this? I would actually love to see someone deliberately going out into the sun to get that result. It would be so funny to see. Just imagine the wrist is all pale at the top, and then you've got these tan squares, God, like a checkerboard. And Samurai says, I served in the Air Force Reserves, and they're very strict regulations. Oh yeah, no question. It gets very serious when it comes to specification and design for purpose. And you notice then that they can also be kind of anal retentive with regards to what they are willing to improve or change. We see that very often. I mean, if we look back to the history of W10s and all those models that evolved in the British Armed Forces, it's one of my favorite lines of pieces, the whole mil-spec era. And we see just how similar everything was from the 40s all the way through to the 70s, the 80s, between Hamilton, CWC, all those manufacturers. Same with Benrus and Hamilton through the Vietnam era, following the same A11 inspired designs there. Just look at that movement. Zenith. What did I say about the Chronomaster Sport? I've said that the El Primero is very much the thinking man's chronograph in this area, because you're essentially getting a high horology movement at the end of the day. That's special, So Forbin says, welcome Forbin. The bracelet shot of the Zenith seems to make the case not blend into the bracelet. Good point. This is the thing. When you're dealing with, I always like to say this as, you could call it a cop-out. I don't know. It's almost like I'm design-wise, purely design speaking, this is not the best aesthetic, the best final approach. But when you think that this is the original and this is how it started, that's what makes them special, to me at least, is that you can scrutinize them. Of course, I love scrutinizing them and critiquing how they were done. I think anyone should. but then it's also saying, well, it's a cool starting point. And what were they thinking? And why did they do this? What's the reason? And you can see that not everything works. I mean, this whole idea of the ladder bracelet, you notice that this is the only real time we see this, and then it gets phased out. I wonder why. True adults fidget spinner case back. Yeah, I mean, it's awesome, right? It is really, really awesome. So yeah, absolute dream of a watch. I think it's superb. And there are lots of owners out there who have these pieces and they love them purely because they go against what we see today. And especially when a brand has so much in their back catalog to share, these are examples of watches that they can make a huge amount of money off. And people want it. The vintage pieces are so hard to find. Actually, no, I kid. These are actually pretty easy to find. They're not the cheapest. They are pretty expensive, but you're getting everything new, everything modern here, and it's a joy. I'm missing you all in the chat. It's going to be a consistent thing, I think, throughout, as always, since I'm trying to manipulate the screen, and I hope presentation's nice and clear for you to look at. Caliber is awesome. Yeah, the cover girl, Recon watches, was much the same. Case and ladder bracelet, very cool dial. Yeah, I called it almost like a Golden Gate Bridge dial. Let me pull it up. I'm gonna have to say this very carefully. Cover girl, El Primero. I'm gonna have to try and get my fingers all lined up and awake. So I think this is the original. Yeah, this is the old school model. But you notice how the minute, what we call it, the minute track is laid out. It reminds you of the Golden Gate Bridge. That's I don't know what the actual term is that they use for it, but it's so funky. It really feels like a watch from now transitioning into the 70s. It has that jam behind it. Yeah, it's working out well. I think the presentation is pretty clear. We have Matt's asking me, what am I drinking? It's a Glenlivet Caribbean Reserve. It's got an awesome, I've never experienced a banana nose before. You smell it and it's like you're literally in the tropics. It's great. It's like a milkshake. Not really. It's like 43%. Chaz from the Berg. That's what makes these revivals so nice. The vintage vibe with modern materials and movements. Yeah, fully agree. This comes from an owner of a few of them. I think they are. It's such a nice area. And what we can refer back to, which is the downside of this theme, is that you could say a lot of brands are kind of creatively bankrupt in this area. And maybe they don't have the ability to create these kinds of watches anymore, or they're just not that interested. They'd rather play on what they've done in the past. With examples like these, good on them. I think it's superb. It also says a lot for someone who only owns the revival watches. What does that mean for the modern pieces? Why don't they appeal, to the owner as much? Racing holes on the watch band. Oh, you know what, Forbin? That's such a good point. Was this their way of almost addressing the rally strap of the time with the holes? Yeah, it's good. Maynard saying the king of chronographs. I mean, that's a given, right? It really is a given. Zenith is Zenith, whatever you want to call the brand. Absolute gem. I think it has regards to the selection of watches. I think I would choose this over the A384 given the chance. The Panda dial is great, but I think the Panda dial is also very, very overused in most watches. This one is just, head and shoulders a little bit above the original and completely unique feel. You basically get a Fume style dial. You get that old school classic case, excellent legibility. You have everything you want out of El Primero. I guess the one downside is you have that date at the 430, which is not everyone's favorite, especially when it doesn't match the color of the dial. But yeah, right. That's been enough of the A385. I'm going to move to the next piece that I think we're going to have a good laugh. Sam Ray says, next watch. Are you ready? The Hublot Big Bang Unico full baguette. I thought, you know what, we gotta definitely cater to the entire audience. Let's have some fun looking at the outliers too. Samara mentioned that HYT went bankrupt. Yes, we actually featured a few HYTs 3 weeks ago, maybe on a live show. They did go bankrupt. Megan is a collector of them. She loves the watches, and she shared a few with us to feature. How cool! I mean, just visually, how cool does this look on the screen? I love the colors. I gotta say, I love the colors. Not that it's a watch for everyone. I'll definitely have a look at the prices and we can have a good laugh. But if you want some rainbow in your life, this is the way to do it, right? And you have to always commend a brand for being able to have this kind of finishing to their cases. I mean, to individually set elements here. Could we say that this watch is, what would we say, profiteering off the love for the Rainbow Daytonas? Is this their way of trying to get on that bandwagon? I do not know. I thought I had no taste. 121 click bezel, welcome. I showed up for the Hublot Big Baguette. You did. You definitely showed up at the right time. Not with a leather band though. Big turnoff, don't you think? There's a couple of other, this one, I knew everyone would love this. There's a couple of these models. This is not the first one that they've done in this rainbow finish. I don't know, for me, I kind of dig the strap too. It just, oh God, it's so bad. I dig it because it's just so flamboyant. It's too flamboyant almost, you know. Daily beater for all occasions, Lowry. Yes. I think you could do absolutely anything with it. I haven't even looked at the function of the dial and everything there. So it has a 60-minute totalizer on the right, running seconds on the left that you can't even read. I mean, how do you? That's so funny. Yeah, looks good. I find it to be quite the conversation piece. Foreman says, nobody move. I've dropped one of my bag. Can you imagine? Can you imagine that happening? So let's have a look at the price, just out of interest's sake, because I really do not know. I don't know how much this will be a movement-related scenario, but I'll try. It's got a 72-hour power reserve, 28,800 beat rate. The buckle with 30 more gemstones. That's good to know. MSRP of $348,000 US. Something tells me that I don't think many people are interested in this watch for that price. You'll get a great discount, though, I'm sure. I don't know how many they're bringing out, but hell, what a lot of fun. Isn't this a good way to start the presentation? Yeah. I think this thing also tells the time. Yeah, barely. I mean, it's very difficult to read. A lot of money and just way too much. This is actually the best Hublot I've ever seen, Sam Race says. Oof, that's quite a comment. Okay, so let's move on from this. It's an excellent watch, absolutely excellent. Next up, we have the Ressence, and I have a little notepad in the corner because of 40 watches. I can be a bit struggling with all the naming. Let's see. It's called the Ressence Type 1 Squared X. Righto. Let's get it up. This is beautiful. What an awesome release. This also came out in and around January, I think, if I have my dates lined up properly. The chronological order. Look at that dial. Look at that case. You know, you get Radiomir vibes immediately when you look at it. That presentation is just something else. I wonder if I can actually click on some of these images. Oh, how cool is that piece? This is, I think of all, this is my favorite Ressence, the most interesting Ressence I've ever seen. A lot of the time we see the standard prototype with the black dial or the white dial, or nothing too overdone. Hold on a sec, these are different. What have I done? Why does this have balls and this one doesn't? Can someone tell me? Oh no, hold on. There it is. Okay, so this is the new release. They've got a few other precursors that they're going through history, right? It's not a quartz watch though, right? It's an ETA based there's two ETA based calibers on top of each other. Or maybe I have to read the article while I'm talking. The Type 1 Squared X rests on the Ressence orbital here we go. Cove system, rocks. In-house developed and patented a horological unit which features discs that continually orbit around one another. Touristas, thank you. I mean, that does save a lot of reading and skimming. Yeah, it's cool. So I'm liking this too. Very Bauhaus in the way this was done. This we have seen before. Now better than ever. I think it has around the dial. I can't read all that stuff. But look at that profile. So the orbital, I've never seen beads featured on these pieces too, so that's something. Lone Wolf, thank you for the super chat. Thank you so much. Nice work, best on YouTube. That's very flattering. I can't be blushing at like 28 minutes in. This is going to be good. Good fun. I'm glad we are finally, after 20 minutes, we're actually into it and we can chat about pieces in a bit more detail. God, I love the photography. It's just something else. Really interesting model. I think that, I mean, the brushing around the dial and just that typical format. I'm sure most of you know how to tell the time on these pieces, but let's try and get this right. So we have 24-hour arrangement here. I'm not even going to try. I'll actually have to read. Let me try and skim read through the information for us to have a look. Let's see. Last anniversary piece, motion capture, time by collection. 48 colored ceramic balls to indicate the approximate time at a glance. 4 different colored balls, yellow, gray, blue, and black, placed on a rotating subdial, usually reserved for small seconds, used to indicate different moments of a day. The morning hours, starting at 6 a.m., are represented by yellow beads, like the sun rising, while the evening hours, starting at 6 p.m., are in blue. That's awesome. That really is nice. Really, I mean, check that out. I didn't even notice that the technicality that goes into how this system works. It's like spring loaded, and it's a little, reminds me of like a ball game that you would have in a kid's toy. That's awesome. Really is cool. But the case, I think the case and the dial is what sings to me the most. I find the aesthetic and just the profile of this watch also. Customize 2892 caliber rocks, as mentioned by Touristas. It's an ETA based caliber. So I don't know if they're using 1 or 2 calibers for this movement. Time by color. Only 40 pieces in the world, unfortunately, and it'll set you back 2,300 euros, including that. So that's good to know. Thank you, Monochrome. Stunning. Really, paintballs. Yeah. John, thank you so much. A little bit for the Hublot fund. God, that's funny. I mean, who would spend that amount? You'd get a hell of a cool discount on that piece, I think, though. John, thank you. Thank you so much. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. Kari says, drink up. I think I will take a hit. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves, kicking back, enjoying your Saturday or Sunday, wherever you are in the world. Wesley's saying, I'm late to the party, but absolutely love the format and idea. That's a pleasure. Absolute pleasure. And take your time. If you don't want to be a part of the show now, this is going to be on catch up for you all. So essentially, for those of you who've just joined, it's roughly 35 to 40 pieces that I have cherry picked as some of the best releases of Q1 2021. And it just allows us to see so much in a short frame. That is cheap for a Ressence. The Type 3 is 30,000, Sam, Ray. I did not know that. That is impressive. Yeah, looks awesome. Really is great. Again, that dial is something else. And it's not a watch for everyone. We're going to be seeing quite a few outliers during the show. Got to remember not to click too fast because I think it takes a bit of time for the upload to work. Look at that presentation. Love those colors. I mean, that's typical Bauhaus arrangement there. Matt's saying today, I roasted my own coffee, been whitewater paddleboarding and paragliding, sitting here with a maker's mark and watching all things watch is the best. But Matt, what a day. What a day. Very jealous. Very, very jealous. Got to say, I used to love kayaking back in the day when I was closer to water. Love the outdoors. Nice arrangement. And the funny thing is, in the Northern Hemisphere, we're getting like a cold front from the Arctic that's coming down. And apparently it's going to be like winter all over again for about a week. So that's fun. Really excited. Okay. So going to move on next to number 5. Oh, God. That is something else. Right. I'm going to just quickly type it in. So this is the H Moser. Let me get this right. Going to open up my little crib sheet. Endeavour Concept. Hold on. Minute repeater tourbillon. Yeah, that's the one. This watch deserves a lot of talk time. I think we're going to be using Monochrome as our resource to look at these images. They just know what they're doing with these presentations. This watch has had my attention ever since it was launched. Now, why do I think most designers will probably understand and agree with this statement. Why do I find this such an endearing watch? How often do we ever get to see the minute repeater on the outside of the dial? Barely ever. The one that comes to mind is the new Lange Zeitwerk Phantom, where you have the 2 hammers on either end of the subdial, the subdial at the base of it. But to make this a feature, to appreciate the element so much that you make it a feature on the watch is something that more brands should be doing to celebrate. Moser is very well known for their minimalist approach, that their aesthetic of really reducing down to the core basics of how they arrange their dials. This just tips it in the next, because I mean, the Endeavour tourbillon is one thing, but then having that minute repeater on top of it, and the dial. All right, you can just leave this on the screen for a bit and get back to you in the chat. Raymond says, howdy, look into Formex Reef as I have ordered one. Diving watch reimagined. I've heard of it. I'll pull it up for you now. Anything else going on in the chat that I've missed? Everyone's saying hi to each other. I can't believe the show has been running for 35 minutes already. Is it going to be another 5-hour long show? Formex Reef diver. I'm pretty sure I've heard of this piece that's been brought out. Ooh, very nice. Now, the question is this a current release? Did this come out over the course of Q3 or not? Q1. More whiskey to the brain. Nice looking piece. I love that presentation, and it has the shoulders of the Nautilus that we know and the Aquanauts. I tell you what, is Formex considered a micro brand? I don't know the brand very well, but oh, hell, it's nice. Nice presentation. And we were just talking about the dials. See how the dial has that arrangement very similar to what we're seeing here, the sunburst effect. Really cool looking piece. There've been a lot of models in these categories that are getting, this is another thing. When you're dealing with Google Images, it's going to be difficult to get it all lined up, but I hope it's decent. Raymond says not micro. Thank you. Minute repeater. What about the Eraser Hour Hand April Fool's edition? Yeah, I mean, we can chat about that. I did not understand that watch at all. Stunning looking piece though, Raymond. Really is nice. I look forward to sharing it with everyone. We can chat about how it has these skin. I mean, look at it, it's like a skin diver, but it has more of a 70s styled case to it. Nice balance. Date complication is placed there. Cool. The reef is quite excessive, but it's nice. Very, very interesting. Very modern in appearance too. What was that? So Moser Eraser edition, right? I saw something about that, and I must have. So this was an April Fool's thing and not something real, or did they actually? I'm pretty sure they released this watch. Again, we're talking about Q2 technically, but I don't know about everyone else, but I don't like it. I really don't like it. I'm a fan for 8-bit art on a watch. I would imagine this is 8-bit. But this just looks so out of whack. But we know Moser does this kind of stuff, though, right? Formex is a micro brand, but most advanced one. Okay, Tippy. So it's falling into that category of being a micro brand at this point. I appreciate that. Look at the bracelet release. I can't keep trying. Sorry, Raymond. I will definitely feature it. But as it is running a tight ship with like 40 watches to scroll, I think we're going to be going backwards. Raymond says it has a Seiko Cask 300. It's really cool. I hope to address it more when I'm sure we'll have it for Wrist Shot Week in the next 2 or 3 weeks there. So this is so strange. This arrangement. So it was actually an April Fool's joke. I mean, the worst I saw was Porsche actually talking about wrapping cars with a rust. Oh, it was so funny. If anyone follows Porsche on social media. So yeah, the Endeavour Tourbillon. Again, what I want to try and emphasize is it's great to see a brand pushing the complication to the front, something as delicate and fine as a minute repeater, and just the simple alignment. Offsetting is asymmetrical, which is quite unusual for what Moser does most of the time too. The final result, though, does look special, really, really special. Not the easiest watch to tell the time with, I think. Thank you, Raven. Did I speak about the Zenith Chrono? I will. Easy as talking about the Chronomaster Sport. Yes, that'll come up. I think that was around February release time. So yeah, that's in the lineup too. Yeah. So the one downside I think would be legibility. Oh, look at that movement. Oh, and also something they seem to love doing with the tourbillons is having a red, what do we call it? Louboutin strap at the back. You know, taking another hit of the whiskey. Great Mosers for sure. Mosers, same thing, yeah. Touristas, the HMC 903 is a manual winding movement composed of more than 400 parts. Mosers, so this component, this movement right here, the 903, is that what they're calling it here? It's insane. I will definitely have a squiz through the article now as we're sitting here. I don't know how many they've limited it to, like 20 or something daft. But Moser just keeps on winning. Just think about the Streamliner, how they've pushed that out, and how they now have the green dial, people are calling the Dragon as an example. And they just keep on pushing these pieces that are getting so much attention. I really hope Moser just expands and grows. So here we go, 400 parts, beats 21,000 VPH, that's good. HMC 903, thank you, Touristas. 20 pieces, 330K. CHF. So it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But still, I find it just such an endearing concept. You know, that really does feel like a concept watch. The offsetting of that minute repeater just adds another dynamic to it. It makes it more adventurous, less of a dress watch, less of what they normally do. But the final result is, it's good. It is really good. Watching the gongs is the part. Exactly, 121. And more often than not, you don't see it. You have to turn the watch, you have to take the watch off, turn it around. Why ruin that pleasure of enjoying the gongs working? Plus, you will probably also see these little metal bars vibrating too while it's going on. So it's just that, a little bit, it's appreciation for those elemental features that we don't often see. Sonic brilliance. Just ordered the Oris Aquas 39.5 Oceanic Blue. Oh, awesome. That is awesome, Samurai. Definitely want to feature that for Wrist Shot Week. That would be cool. They're doing a good job with their modern stuff. You found my source. So Ristas, yeah, I'm having to read articles while discussing. Again, I didn't do much research before the show. I just saved all the watches in some kind of chronological order. Beautiful example. Okay. Jazz says Moser keeps killing it. They do. They sure do. Oh, amazing. Moving on next to number 6. So this is a Ming. I'm going to get this right now. This is going to be fun. We're going to get there eventually. Just please bear with me as I try to get the numbers down. That's the Ming 27.02 gradient guilloche. And that's the one thing that they have nailed here is a very subtle guilloche dial that you would barely notice if you weren't looking. Took me by surprise. Let's see if I can find a picture. Well, here's the reference image, I guess. Here we go. So the guilloche is on the outskirts of the dial, which is, I think, very in line with what Ming does, which is, really taking it back and trimming it down, streamlining their approaches. And here is an example that does the same thing. It's reduced. Normally, we would expect guilloche to be printed everywhere. Thomas, loving Ming watches. Yeah, I agree. I think their dials are just something to take in. Industrial designers out there, architects, we can really enjoy how they do it because it's unique to their identity, skeletonized in a way, very architectural, but organic at the same time. I think the way they center the 12 of the ring is very nice. Double batons, kind of 50s-ish, the way they've arranged it at the 10-minute marks running around the dial. And those hands just all works. It's very, we were just chatting about Moser. This looks like the Ming variant of the Moser Endeavour, the way they arrange these. And the guilloche, it's very subtle. Let's see if I can find some more shots. Again, in-house movements, they know what they're doing. And these watches, when they are launched, when they are live, they disappear so fast. People pick them up quickly. So, and Henrik says, not a fan of Ming. It's okay. It's all good. I can see why. Same thing as someone who can appreciate it. I can see why someone wouldn't. It's definitely not. I mean, just the name Ming gives you that idea that, falls into that Seiko category. You know what I mean? But no, I just like the level of restraint. This just the simple arrangement of having the name at the 3 where it's barely noticeable. It's good. It's very good. And then we circle back. I'm surprised that they don't have more images to publish. Is this hold on. Is this a platinum? No, it's not a platinum case. Let's have a look at the article. What am I doing? Very Ming carries forward the same case, mechanical specifications, first model of the series. So all they've really done is added the clou de Paris surface. Very, very nice arrangement there. Pricing and thoughts, 4,950 Swiss francs. Not bad. Yeah, cool looking piece. And these disappear the second they're launched. I think I said that earlier. Hitting some coffee. Demetrius says, Ming watches are beautiful, but none of their models more unique than the copper. Oh, the copper I featured on one of the very first Wrist Shot Week shows, would you believe? And God, it's something else. I agree. It's amazing how sought after these watches are too. And the Chidge says, very stylish, prefer to Moser. It's another thing. This takes the organic. I think I have a shot of the eraser here next to us. This already is pretty organic in the way that the cases are done, this being a Moser example. This takes the organic and makes it a bit more articulated fluid. I don't know how best you would want to describe it, but the evacuated lugs, they seem to have nailed the formula. I still like the diver the most in this category here. Tippy saying, speaking of Ming, I'm thinking of getting a watch similar called the Feynman Cove. Anything with Feynman with the name would be good. While saving up, you must get that Habering, because that's the one watch that I know you're gunning for, Tippy. You've been wanting it for ages. Should have a dial from porcelain. Yeah, Ming porcelain. Yeah, of course. I feel like someone's missing. I feel like something is missing in a Ming watch. It's very bare. It's very blank. It's very designed. Sometimes we could say it's too designed. Have they gone a little bit too far? and the way they've done it. Russell's joining us. Welcome. Welcome. Samurai says Kevin O'Leary has 1 of 1 Ming. Amazing. So I should check out the Feynman. Moser Ming wannabe. Check out Feynman. Okay. I've got to try and get this clear enough. So what's the name of it again? I'm just going to scroll up and try and catch it. Let's see. The chat is going so fast. Tippy, I can't find your chat there. No, I've lost your message. It's disappeared. Ugh, I'm the worst. I'm going to be so bad with trying to read the chat and keep this going. I'm sorry, everyone. I'm going to have to try and be consistent with this. Feynman watch. I think if I do that, we'll have Richard Feynman all over the screen, and it'll be a bit of a disaster. Habring salmon dials are wonderful. Yeah, no, we can't go to Habring now. I've got to keep on touch with the show as much as possible, at least. Ming logo 3 o'clock. Yeah, it's awesome. It really is nice. Okay, I've got to move on. I can't stick to these for so long. As it is, we've been running for 45 minutes, and I've barely scratched the surface with these pieces. So this is the Oris. I'm trying to remember the Carl Brashear 401, and this has already been featured on the wrist. I think Watchbox has been covering it, and of course, I can't get a good article for it. So let's see if I can anything good. Goldsmiths, no, monochrome. Awesome. Going to have to be efficient with the way I run these developments. I mean, Carl Brashear is a legend. There's awesome film with Cuba Gooding and who was the drill sergeant again? I can't remember who. Oh, geez. Of course, I can't be doing this now live, trying to pretend. But Carl Brashear has one hell of a history to his name. And this was one of the first, I think, the original, the very first model. We can chat about bronze watches very quickly. All bronze, yes. I think it's all bronze casing. What makes this model a bit more interesting, I think, no date, I reckon it's one of the best they've ever done, actually, considering this line. The chronograph was quite a nice talking point. A diving chronograph is always something quite special. Robert De Niro, thank you, Wilson. Thank you. Godfather. Got to take another hit of the coffee. You can see I'm going to be a bit slow as I present today. Don't think the back is bronze. No, it's not. I think it is a steel back. Oris has really come along. Yes, I agree, Megan. I think they are pushing. I really am impressed with how they've introduced the new in-house caliber, and they seem to be. This watch now also uses the in-house caliber. I think that's the special thing about it. They pushed it out to highlight the new movement that they've just put into their Aquas line. So, yeah, this was pretty interesting. I think the whole bicompax layout is nice. It's very 60s-ish, which I dig. But of course, the bronze case is a topic of debate. Something else important to note that I think is also a good collaboration is that Erica's Originals made these straps for Oris in partnership. And Oris is very open to partnerships too, which I also think is nice. Any brand that is able to reach out and team up with people who are popular in the space, I think it's good because it just adds more exposure to the business owner. And this watches should be a collaborative exercise between owners, between enthusiasts. It just adds to the dynamic, makes it more fun. Yeah, so Raymond says, yes, the 400 in-house. Oris Facebook page is actually amazing. I've made suggestions and they respond to me fast. I mean, that's good, hey? That is so good. They stay, and that's the thing. When in this modern day and age, you need to have things like social media on lock if you're running a business like this, especially when it comes to promoting, when it comes to feedback and all of that there. It's awesome. It really is good. So we can talk. I'll get to the case back eventually, but I think what they've done here is pretty nice. The running sub seconds cleans up the dial a lot more. Oh, I'm getting so many questions. The new movement is kind of horrible, Tippy says. I'm interested in knowing the accuracy. I haven't covered those specifications. The accuracy and the power reserve, I think, was quite well spoken about, but I don't know how the long-term performance is going to be. It's going to be interesting to check it out. Dome crystal makes it. Yeah, that's another thing. Oris loves their dome crystals. I own the original 65, and I swear it looks like acrylic. You can't believe that it's actually sapphire. It's so well curved. The CEO at Oris is approachable, and that's another thing. The CEO is being open to criticism, open to comments. So what I think works so well on this piece, let's try and I think that the way they've done that sub dial there is good, very good. 5-day power reserve. It's nice to know. 100 meters water resistant expected. It's a micro thin watch too, which is nice. I don't know if anyone's experienced them, but they sit so low to the wrist. I don't even think they're 10 mils in thickness overall. No, oh, with the hacking, Raymond says the flaws with the movement is the hacking. So they don't have a hacking seconds. That's something. But as for the bronze case, that's the divisive part. That's nice. I like that arrangement. There's the movement for anyone to enjoy. The issue with the bronze case, it's either you love it or hate it at the end of the day. The aesthetic is something to enjoy, especially when it's brand new. Once it's been worn in, I guess you can clean the watch and it will look awesome, but can also be a bit hectic. It all depends on the alloy they decide to use. And this does have a steel back, which is good. Erica's style strap, yeah, Raymond mentioned earlier. Does it have a power reserve on the reverse? I think they might. I'm sure they would. Maybe not. It doesn't look like it. This is the full image. So it looks like they're only making 2,000 of them. Okay. But overall, what I do like, especially with the arrangement of that sub dial there at the base. I mean, I love these old photographs. Let's go back. The arrangement of the sub dial at the base. This whole text following the circular form of the sub dial feels very of its time. It feels nautical, actually. When you think of barometers and you think of clocks back in the day, all speaks to that nautical feel, which is really nice. Actually gives you a very good marine chronometer effect to it. And just, yeah, overall the presentation is very, very clean. I like it a lot. Don't know so much about the need of having to mention water resistant and stuff. Sometimes there can be a bit too much text added to the piece, but you know, looks good. Don't own an Oris. Never really caught my attention, Matt. Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. I'm someone who loves the quirks, and the original 65 with the reverse numerals on it, just fun. So much fun. Cool looking piece. I think they've all probably sold out by now. Okay, we're gonna have a look at more bronze watches later when we get to the Seamaster 300. Next piece on the list. Let's have a look. It's a surprise for me too. Oh, I like this. So let's get the name of this Luminor out. And it is called here we go, the Panerai Marine 44. And I think it is also paying tribute. Oh, hold on, I had it there for a second. Marine 44. And I'm going to butcher his name, so I don't think I will say it out loud. Guillem Neri. And I think he is a diver. He is a commercial diver now today. This example with the white strap, I don't know if all of them come this way, but we can have a good look at. I thought it's very striking and worth looking at. Discussing Panerai as a brand, I think, is deserving. Panerai needs more attention as a manufacturer, I think. Dimitri says, bronze is not for me, but bronze gold Seamaster seems, it does. It sure does seem interesting. I'm so impressed with it. Of all the new releases in that 300 line, that one is a win. I would fully own that piece. We're going to, speaking of Panerai, the whole numeral arrangement on the 300s, yeah, that's also something we can discuss. But yeah, let's have a look. So 70th anniversary for the Luminor, celebrated with a tritium-based lume formula, later lent the name Luminor watch series. Oh, geez, we're doing the full history here. 44 mil case, which is nice. Full titanium, which is good. I love the way they've done the dials here. I mean, look at that arrangement. That is something charming. It's also gradient gray. It's not black. And it just adds another little dynamic to it. Also, appreciate that it's not faux patina, or what would we call tropicalized patina, whatever you want to call it, the faded lume. It's nice seeing, this is why I actually chose this source image, having the white on white strap, white layout. It's very good. So the question is, how can this brand further push its identity and get popular again? And I guess there's opportunity for them to do it. We've been chatting about it before. Just the idea of, is that the end? Hold on, is there any more? No, that's it. Just for interest's sake, $18,900. Ooh, that is a lot. That is a lot of money. So I hope the stream's not cutting out while I'm talking. And if I'm scrolling too fast, I apologize. But overall, I think the presentation is good. Size-wise, I think 44 is pretty reasonable. 70-year warranty, Michael. Maybe this model has it. I don't know if this is their new thing they're including with all the models, or if it's just the new movement. Is it good? Thank you, Mark. Sam Ray commenting 1. Okay, great. Stream's fine. Thank you, everyone. I just switched. I'm still on Virgin Media, but had this thing with download and upload speeds, and apparently I'm getting better equipment to make it faster. But I don't know. It's all up in the air. There's no knowing until you watch back on the show. Doc BBC, welcome, says you don't like Pam. Yep, I know you love it. That's one of your like underlying character traits. It's so good. Thank you, Chaz. Yes, it's good fun. 18K is a hell of a lot for this watch, gotta say. But the size of this piece, 44 mils, I think is appropriate. Once we get beyond that, I think that's when people really start getting turned off. And there was mention that Panerai is a dying brand. It's unfortunate that a lot of people feel that way. It's a watch of its time, unfortunately, and sadly, when it comes to aesthetics and comes to layout, and the preferences just aren't there. But then you think, well, why is there so much appreciation for these reissue watches? Because this is essentially a reissue watch that's never has gotten out of fashion. It's always been there, you know. And yeah, it's that catch-22. We see the Seamaster 300M now incorporating the same kind of sandwich dial numeral layout. Will that not bring more attention to watches like Panerai? Don't know. I guess it's just within their line, they're doing so many peculiar things. That whole 30-meter water-resistant thing, I mean, that's laughable, right? That is just laughable, considering these watches were made to be the most proficient dive watches of their time. So, yeah, I guess they're trapped by the design aesthetics, and that's it, Michael. I mean, you kind of hit it on the head there. It's how do you make this, how do you move this forward into the 21st century? And I think they could. There's so many opportunities to further evolve this. It probably won't be up the enthusiasts' alley, really. They won't appreciate the changes. But the one watch that spoke to me a lot was the ID model. I had a part to play in it, of course. Totally kidding. But I found this to be such a good step in the right direction in a way. And this is the problem. Can I find a good example to look at? The Lab ID. I think they used forged carbon on the case, and they've done some cool things with some models with loom around the crown guard. This is going in the more modern direction. Not for everyone's taste, especially those who love the radio mirrors and those classics. But then if a brand wants to survive, I think adapting in that way might be something good. You got to test the market. I think it was for Only Watch. I can't be deviating too much away from the talking points, but we got to try. Where is that model? I can't see it. Oh well, such a good looking piece, and the way they've done that sub-dial arrangement there, it just feels like it's going a bit further. Radio Mirror had JLC movements, yeah, and I mean, if it wasn't for Rolex, Raymond, Panerai wouldn't be a thing. That's how it all started. It's incredible, yeah. Panerai had Rolex movements, yeah. PVD accents on the Panerai makes sense. There's a lot. One of my favorites, I think it's the reference to 223. I think that's one of my favorites. It's an 8-day power reserve GMT that I love looking at. Anyway, nice looking piece. I thought as a presentation, this watch deserved to be looked at. I think this is quite a nice modern movement forward, what they're doing with this line. But again, they need to sit back. They need to really rethink how are they going to push these watches forward. I would just throw out, if anyone from Panerai is watching, shift the size down a little bit more. Start thinking more about your dial architecture. Maybe, I don't know, really go against the grain and add a compressor style element to it where you have an inset bezel, because everyone loves a fidget spinner. Everyone loves a bezel. And then try to modernize. I think the next step is playing around with the loom, because the Luminor, I mean, it sums it up. The radio mirror, they've always been watches known to glow, and they deserve that, I think, as a step forward. Okay, a few more seconds on this piece, and then we got to move on to whatever's next on the list. I don't even know. Let's see. Tippy's saying you should try and look at the Feynman watch again. I never disappoint with recommendations. Okay, I will pull it up now. Let me just get it up on screen quickly. I'm getting a bit more proficient with how I'm handling. Ooh, okay. That is very nice. Very, very nice. I just need a nice high-res image for everyone to see here. A blog to watch. I don't know why the images are so pixelated on their side. Ooh, that is something very left of field. How cool is that? And this is a compressor style case. That's actually a very good segue. We were talking about that a second ago. Panerai's attempt to broaden their appeal of their designs was the Duo series. Yeah, Mason, that's the one. The Duo series with the 30 meter water resistance. It's so dumb. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? I mean, they had a clear case back, which is the appeal, right? You want to enjoy the movement, but then the compromise is no water resistance. It's a laugh. It's a laugh. Unfortunately, doesn't mean they can't go back and rethink how they're going to evolve this line. It's called the Eclipse. Oof, that's very nice. This is from Zeltec Reviews. I have never seen this piece before, that's for sure. Feynman, I'm guessing this is the maker himself. Love that dial too. I mean, it does scream Moser and Ming. You got it. You hit it on the head there, Tippy. Moser and Ming in one watch. The way the rail track works around the dial. Very classical crown, kind of onion style crown there. Yeah, I like it. I do like it. Definitely focus on this in the future. I hope you get to pick up this piece. But again, the Habering is on your list. And find an ETA 2895 movement. Founders, okay, the Founders Edition. Feynman Cove as a Panerai element. God, you see, now I've got questions about Seiko 5s, and as it goes, we just got to get so bogged down. Next watch, let's pull it up. De Bethune. This was a really, really nice example, and we know why. It's the technical specs behind it. I wonder if I have it queued up. De Bethune. I'm going to completely butcher the name. Let's open up the crib notes and get this name properly done. 2 Tourbillon. Is that what they're calling it? Okay. So glad I have some crib notes on the side. Always helps. A blog to watch, monochrome. Now this deserves coverage. Something that has been asked for by a lot of owners out there. I'm just going to leave this image on because that's the real show-off element. Well, a lot of owners have been asking for the idea of having the ability to rotate the watch around to appreciate the movement on the one side, like Reverso Samurai. That's it. And yeah, and Russell says the first time their lug design has made sense to me. Fully agree. I mean, what makes De Bethune so good as a maker is that articulating lug. You can literally, if your wrist is 5 centimeters in width, you can get a shorter lug profile attached to the watch so it doesn't overhang on your wrist. And that's so good. It's that adaptability, interchangeability, very modern. Dig it. Now having the ability to do a full rotation, it's something very pocket watch, very old school when you think about it. But you're able to have 2 dials, one piece, and what an arrangement. We have something that looks so classic, and then you shift across and you have something that looks like a modern example. I'm guessing it uses it's a 2 time zone. It's a two dial arrangement there. De Bethune 2-face. Love a 2-face dial. Yeah, it's something else, right? I also find it fat because when we look at the watch on the left, this is how we kind of associate De Bethune today. The way they're very Star Trek in the way they've done their dial arrangements with these vacuated lugs. To then have a look at the classic approach with the very 40s in the way that the minute track works around the dial there. Worth looking at. Very. Scotty, can you give me a warp factor 4? Yeah, exactly. Reminds me of Freemasons. Ooh, you know what? The triangle arrangement, yeah. Got to say, the truth is out there. Hitting the coffee again. It's going well. I've been running the show for 62 minutes, and we are 9 images in. There's 38 on the presentation. We're definitely going to have to motor through some of these. Reminds me of 70s design. Yes, I would say. Absolutely. Very integrated. That's the thing. It's got this integrated case aesthetic behind it. And from a distance, you would swear this watch is solid, until you start seeing the lugs. I mean, the first time I ever saw this watch was talking watches with Seiko and Ben Clymer a couple of years back. And the watch that he had was a fully blued, I think it was heat blued steel. I can't remember what material. No, it was anodized, some anodized finish to it. And it just blew me away seeing how those lugs worked. I find it just such a good exercise, similar to what we saw with that Moser concept. This piece, the way they've done the whole idea of flipping the case around is just, Tank, Basculant, JLC Reverso are the watches that we think about when we talk about reversing faces. This is taking it forward, modernizing it. H.G. Wells on the front, Star Trek on the back. I love that, Nefarion. That's such a good point. And Megan says they're strap monsters. I mean, you can do anything with these pieces. I love that idea. We talk about the modern Apple Watch as an example of something that's very interchangeable. This is probably one of the best examples of a modern watch that is truly interchangeable with how the cases and bracelets work. And yeah, piece, modern classic. The Wankel engine, yeah, that's also something. Roar of the Tiger. Also looks like a Grubel Force and MB&F. Speaking of which, we are definitely going to jump to MB&F at a later stage. I think it's coming up quite soon, actually. I think it's coming up next. Nice arrangement. The polarizing elements to this watch, of course, it's a love it or hate it thing, similar to the Mings and the watches we've seen already. Those evacuated lugs, the way they've been done, not for everyone, of course. They do take the formula in a bit of a different direction, but as far as an industrial design feel, it's something to take in. I love it. Also, just simple things that make sense about this watch. The way the crown is at the base of the dial or at the top of the dial and not sticking into your wrist. It's just those simple things that you feel like it was designed that way, you know? Raymond, thank you. More cowbell. I don't know what that means, but yeah, I love it. Such a nice aesthetic. Okay, moving on to image number 10. I'm pretty sure this is an MB&F. Yeah, so it's a crazy, I don't even know what it's called, legacy machine, something to have to see. HM9 SV, MB&F, HM9 SV, really rolled off the tongue. Article, the blog to watch, monochrome, always good. Now these machines, I mean, we've just had a look at quite a crazy looking example of a piece. These machines just take it to that next level. I mean, this looks like Star Trek on steroids. Looks like a Formula One car, you know? It's crazy. The DB28 steel wheels, touristers. I'll pull it up. Just can you remind me a bit later on? I've got to keep, as it is, we've now been running for an hour. I don't know how long the show is going to be. If we're going at this rate, the show will be 3.5, 4 hours maybe. You know, if we've got 38 images lined up, who knows? I would wear that. I mean, this is the thing. When you have the kind of money to splurge on a watch like this, you would. The watch it reminds me of actually is the oh no, come back. Clicked on the wrong thing. Hold on a sec. I hope that hasn't botched. This reminds me of that Hublot Ferrari edition that they did. Remember that combination? What was it called? I can't remember the reference, but that whole idea of having a turnkey inside and you can appreciate the tourbillon, which was off axis. This is the classic approach. And Raymond sums it up. Wells Time Machine. This looks like something straight out of that era. I didn't realize it has a Flieger. How cool is that? It has a Type A Flieger dial. That's something to take in. And I don't know why this has the purple arrangement on the left. I'm guessing they brought out a handful of these watches, but it's such a bizarre approach. You know, this is when we start not only celebrating the simplicity of I wouldn't say simplicity, the complexity of telling time, but the LaFerrari. Thank you, Samurai and Megan. Yeah, the Hublot LaFerrari edition. That's what this reminds me of, the way the dial's been done. So here we get, it's a double, I mean, look at that. It's a double balance you get to appreciate. This is when you're spending the majority of your time looking at the top of the watch and not the front of it, which is something quite different and well worth addressing. This piece deserves attention. Again, it's the same. Okay, phallic, yes, very phallic when you see it lined up. I'm just having a look at it now, and once you see it, you can't unsee it. So catching up with the chat. Sorry that I'm missing you all. Again, tag me in the chat, and I'll see it a lot easier. I'll see what you're asking and mentioning. Oh, look at that! These double spirals. Oh, it's just crazy. It's just so above and beyond. I just love it. Any predictions for Daytona Rolex? Armour says, oof. I really don't know. Hell, I've done 2 videos on just like renders and stuff, and it's been about 30 minutes worth of me talking about the subject, and guarantee you my answers will be less than 1% right at the end of the day. I don't know what they'll do with the Daytona. If it's the Explorer year, and it looks like what we've seen, it's all about the Explorer 2. I don't think they would then debut more elements to the Daytona. I feel like when they incrementally improve something like the Submariner, that's when they start introducing new gold elements and stuff like that. I don't think we'll see a stainless steel Daytona this year. Could easily be next year, though. I mean, as the next set. BDev says I'll set a record. Who knows? But as for the Explorer 2, I've had a good think about what it's going to look like, and I don't reckon we should be too excited with how it's going to end as a result. It's going to be, I'm guessing, this is my, like, after talking about the watch so much and seeing that launch image, I'm guessing it's going to be 41 mils in size. It's going to be flatter in profile, a lot more streamlined next to the earlier models. We're going to see a Polo white black dial. It looks like, if I look at the handset on the model, it's also been adjusted. It's been shrunken down. I just think it's funny that we're talking about this and we're looking at MB&F. April 7th, Explorer 2, yeah. Daytona More Precious Metals. I'm thinking that the precious metals will be removed from their catalog. I mean, there's actually been talk about it. Those John Mayer models will be taken away. And maybe next year we will see a revamp on, because the Daytona has been neglected. I think it came out in like 2015, the last one. And those watches have been, they are getting quite old in the category. So I find that funny. Ceramic bezel for gold Daytonas on gold straps. God, who knows? Who knows? It's a guessing game. The focus is going to be on the Explorer 2, though, I think. Just a more streamlined model. It's not, I don't even think it's going to get any green accents to celebrate its anniversary. It's going to be orange hand, the typical arrangement that we know. I have this gut feeling that it's going to be ceramic. Looking at that image, even though it's a CAD image, it's a render. I have this feeling in my gut that tells me that it's going to be ceramic, and it totally goes against their identity and what they're about, but still seems like something. We can talk about that at length, I think, in a moment. But still, this machine looks superb. I think we've chatted about it enough. It's gorgeous arrangement. Surprising that it uses these Flieger elements on the dial. That's something. Megan mentioned something about Roman Scharf having one of these pieces. F1 race. Oh, turnkey has started. Yeah, talking about that Hublot LaFerrari. I love that watch. It's such a fascinating machine. Still grabs my attention today. Okay. I'm going to move on to the next example. We've looked at this crazy machine long enough. And oh dear, I knew this would happen. I did something wrong and I deviated away. I clicked on the thing at the wrong time. Let's see if this works. Hold on. Back in it. So Bulgari brought out a range of new watches around this line, and I think they just addressed a couple of new materials. Let's have a look. The Finissimo S with silver dial. They also brought out one with a black finish on a black strap, which looks great. I did not have a good look at what this watch is supposed to be. I'm guessing it's just a color change. You'll notice that to be quite a consistent thing through the show, that you either have, most of the time, 90% of the time, we see watches that's just, I mean, come on, Hodinky, is that all you're going to share with us? Okay, let's look somewhere else. Let's see, GQ magazine. Should we have a look at that? New wave of watches. Okay, I'll bite. No pop-up ads, please. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I'm really liking these chronographs. Of all the models in this line, the chronograph to me is exciting. But also the model on the left, I think looks superb with that strap. It looks great. This is the kind of watch I would want to wear in this area. You notice how there's this consistent theme. As we keep rolling through the show, you'll see that there's quite a lot of consistency with black straps, black dials. That's essentially what the cover photo of the show was. Megan says, love the Octos. Yeah, I mean, your family loves them. They are. I still am a bit divided. Of all the models, this is the one I would like the most. I find this arrangement the most appealing to me. The whole asymmetrical arrangement on the dial is a little bit too much for my liking. And then it's the case. You either love it or hate it again. It's the profile that's incredible. It's that format there. I don't know. Ooh, this is something I haven't seen. The Octo Roma Carleon Tourbillon. That's something else. You see what I mean? You miss so many of these as they've been released. ETS says, I wish they had a Finissimo in 38. Yeah, these are 42 mils, right? And I guess the beauty is that they sit so flat to the wrist. But they are pretty, I mean, the nice thing is they're easily identifiable for what they are now. They've been spoken about a lot, and they seem to go under this banner of high fashion watch. High fashion in the sense that you would see this kind of watch at Milan Fashion Week. Oh, look at that. Chronograph GMT titanium. This to me is one of my favorites. I really, of all the models, I'm not so much of a fan of this watch on the bracelet, but I think on the strap and the black on black finish, titanium case, even more light. This watch probably weighs all of, what, 10 grams? Nice. And Demetrius owns one of these and he loves it. I remember you picked it up, I think, not at the birth of your son, but oh, so cool. Isn't it nice that we actually have all these intimate stories around our watches, and I somehow remember them after sharing them on Wristshot Week. 25 episodes in, and there's always something to talk about, you know? The sailcloth, yeah, I agree, Megan. It's something else. And the blue face and everything there, definitely worth looking at as a brand. They're not all that expensive either when you consider them as as well, super well made watches in this category. But then I made a video like a year ago talking about how it takes this deco inspiration with the way the case facets work, and it's either a hit or miss. It is a bit excessive when you start looking at all the macro details or micro. I don't know what I'm saying, but more coffee in the system. Hold on. The tourbillon, anything in this, Larry saying that the Finissimo tourbillon chronograph skeleton is amazing. It is. There is a skeleton we're going to look at in a moment that I think is a win, especially for the brand that we're going to see. So yeah, we've chatted about Octos enough. This is more of a refresh. We can definitely move next. This one did surprise me. I like this arrangement, and it's the Hublot Classic Fusion Orlinsky. Okay, let's get it right. Not Rainbow. Classic Fusion Orlinsky. Now, Orlinsky is the designer or an architect. I have seen a lot of his work in the past, and he has this very typical. I'm going to pull up the Hodinkee article. We're still in January, by the way. We haven't moved to February yet, but I find these to be good talking points. The dial, again, this arrangement's either hit or miss. I think for a lot of people, it looks a little bit cheap in the way it's been done. But I do admire how they're celebrating the artist, the creative, through the work that he does. I mean, here's some samples. This looks like a bear in the background, and incorporating that into dial. We've noticed something when we get through a few more artist collaboration watches, that some are very hit and miss. Sometimes they can be. I mean, this is his style that he's just translated through everything. It's nice to have a creative with a consistent style, but then when it's so repetitive, it can be a bit of an issue. I don't like them at all. Yeah, again, I'm just rocking. I'm throwing these up because they're worth looking at. Obviously, they're not the most spectacular watches to talk about, but I thought it'd be nice to just get a wide spread of information. I'm seeing and ha, and Megan says you can't beat the Octo with great discounts now. Yeah, they aren't that expensive. They're more of a fashion watch. They look good. I mean, I would consider that Octo is stunning. That titanium GMT chronograph, the balance, you can see why it's so gorgeous. AP, please. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. Forbin says Hublot dial surface reminds me of Christmas ornaments. It does, right? It does. You got it. So yeah, it does look a little bit entertaining, similar to the Rainbow. I shaved this just so that we could have a good time chatting about the arrangement. I do find how it plays the light quite interesting, and it looks like a concept prototype watch. A little bit of art and design to it there. Yeah, astigmatism. Yeah, I agree. Okay, so this is good. We ran through this one quick enough. Let's move to the next one. Oh, this is nice. Now we can start talking about something a bit different. They call this the Type 20. I don't know. Zenith Pilot. I'm going to probably get this wrong. I'm pretty sure they call this the Type 20. And Type 20 always generally designates the flyback feature. I wonder, what do they call this? The extra silver special. The extra special silver. Okay. See, I gotta love. Hold on, give me a sec. I don't know if there are any articles written about this watch, but we'll see. A blog to watch, Dinky. Watches by SJX. This is always good. 2019. Don't tell me that I'm behind, and this is actually a later edition. You mean to tell me that this watch came out last year? Uh-oh. Such a cool model. We're going to see another one later on, I think. Did this watch come out last year, and I've just watched the releases? Someone lied to me. I don't know, but it's a cool looking piece. Let's chat about it for a sec. Zenith just nails it again with the way they do their things. The downside is, I guess, the crown might be a bit too big for some people. Oh, hold on, it's a chronograph. I think I'm going onto something here. Just checking out the arrangement. A lot of these aren't chronographs. Bear with me. There we go. We're back. Oh, I love that dial. Oh, it's nice. All right, let's sit on this for a sec. Sorry about that delay. There's so many technicalities with a lot of these releases. Rizub says, you're late. You're not late. We've been running for 78 minutes, and we've gone through 13 watches. Don't worry. You're not late by any means. So I actually watched a review of this watch similar to this model a while back. I think it was the Blueprint model. And they're doing a good job. Really doing a good job. That dial is something else. Taking a hit from the coffee. I think the rivets and inspiration on the dial is something worth looking at, and it's that texture it has, very ornate. Reminds you of the elements that we see on watches like Seiko, Grand Seiko, which we're going to feature later on. Nice looking, but the crown is either a love it or hate it. It is huge. It is huge for someone who wears a watch on the right wrist. You're in okay shape, but on the left wrist, I feel like this thing will be quite a hindrance. And the watch itself measures like 44 mils, and it has a 54 mil lug length or something like that. Big fat onion crown is normal. Yeah, true for sure. It's nice seeing that this classic inspiration is carried through the entire piece. You know, where you have the dial, the cathedral hands, the type is so correct through the 30s and the 40s and all that. I love big crown watches. Yeah, I mean, it's all personal preference. Some funky little features like these little pop rivets you see on the strap, you can actually open just for the sake of it being a fidget spinner. They don't do anything, but they look nice. So you can actually open them like you can on sleeves of leather jackets and stuff just to play around. And so again, type 20 complication generally always designates that it's a flyback chronograph, meaning that you don't have to reset it to keep it running. But I love that silvery tone. I mean, it just, of course, these aren't true rivets. I think it would be a lot more impressive if we actually saw real rivets on the dial somehow, not dense, you know what I mean? Something that looks a bit more true to what the rivet would look like. Dan says watch doesn't cut the numerals, but it looks narrow eyes. That's something else. I mean, cut numerals, either a love it or hate it thing. I think it does have its place on some models, on some watches, especially when they have, we will actually be talking about the big eye later on, the Longines big eye. But yeah, it's very clean and clear. Bicompax layout, 30-minute totalizer. You can either love that or hate that arrangement. Still, what really draws me to this model in particular is that dial, the finishing. Normally, when you get this kind of polish on a metal surface, it means that you haven't done enough. You've got to do a lot more. But I like that they're playing around with that materiality and textures. Again, ladies and gents, I'm sorry that I'm not reading your chat. If you would like to ask me some questions or just direct a question to me, I'll be able to see it quicker. Or a statement even. It doesn't have to be a question. I can get to it faster and address as we go through it. Okay, going to move on to the next piece. Speaking of pilot watch straps, this wouldn't be equipped with a bunt strap back in the day. So that's something. Yeah, whole set of Type 20 watches is amazing. Megan, there's some good examples out there. The Blueprint was one that came out recently, which was also similar to this. I love it or hate it. I love how they've done that bicompax layout. It's so crisp, simple there. There's nothing that seems to be eroding on its space. It seems well proportioned and balanced. Okay, to number 14. I like this one. So it's a Zenith Defy, I'm guessing 21, and they called it olive or something there. I don't know. No, look at the crib notes again. We're still in January, by the way. Urban Jungle. Okay. We're still running through January. Getting close to the end of it, though. And then once we hit February, got a whole new range. Should we look at mono? Yeah, always monochrome. Their articles are just sublime. Oh, the photos are also great. So we know that the reason why I cherry-picked this watch, similar to the Ressence, is the color. I love the olive drab. Anything in olive wins my heart. And the Defy line is pretty much what defines how we see the modern El Primero today, which is quite exciting. I like a brand that takes these sorts of risks. And just think about the category. We've just looked at, Zenith has featured quite a lot in this video. We started with the A385. We've gone through now to look at that Type 20, which is so classic and classically inspired. We're talking a watch from the 30s. A385 is a watch from the late 60s, 70s. Here we're looking at a watch that's moving it forward with, I'm guessing, a ceramic case. I'll have to double check. And then we'll look at the Chronomaster Sport. They have their fingers in many pies in the subject, I think. That's the take-home point. So many green watches this year. Yeah, ETS, and we haven't even started. You know, next up, we're going to see even more, I'm sure. Nice looking watch. The downside, of course, it's a typical Jean-Claude Biver in the way he's done the Hublotisms. The skeletonizing is a bit of a problem when you're dealing with a chrono. I'm guessing this is 1/100th of a second, the way the chrono works. Yeah, it is. So it's a 10-second. It's a 10-second chronograph. That thing spins like mad, similar to the Chronomaster Sport. But I do just admire the aesthetic quality of what this watch is trying to do and how it seems to work so successfully. We're going to have a look at another model later on by Philippe Pantone as another collaborative exercise. Tippy says it's weird that it felt like a few days ago that you didn't like skeleton watches. Yeah, I mean, I'm not a fan of all skeleton watches. In this case, this is when it kind of bothers me. I think the issue with skeletons, for me, the most efficient skeletons are the ones that are for time telling only, just time. When you're dealing with a chronograph on top of it, when the chronograph is set to be something that is supposed to be easy to read at a glance and to work and function, that's when it gets problematic. But watches like the AP skeleton, the Gerard Perregaux skeleton, we're going to have a look at a Piaget skeleton in a second, the Piaget Polo. That has just pushed the watch in a different direction, and I think it's worth it. Too confusing, yeah, but I like the power reserve. This is something that they have done. The sub-seconds, I don't enjoy. I think the whole idea of that rotating gadget is kind of a hit and miss. But overall, the color is just what sings. As we were chatting about, accessorizing your outfit, your shoes, whatever you're wearing, this is the kind of watch that you would pair so nicely with a pair of olive drab shoes out there, don't you think? Hans, back in 5. Go for it. You've got a bit of ablutions to make and to do. All good. We'll still be here. Yeah. Anyway, I hope for the rest of you who've been joining in, we've been chatting for 85 minutes now. I hope you're all well, having an excellent weekend, kicking back, enjoying listening to me prattle on about watches that I don't understand. Any more tags in the chat? I think I've missed. It's okay. Everyone is just chatting amongst themselves. That's a joy. That means we can move on. I do really like how Zenith is addressing these movements of theirs. And again, it's a thinking man's chrono. Look at that. Yeah, so skeleton arrangement on this watch, it's the feature that they pretty much use on all of these models here. But you can see that the wearer is doing the right thing, pairing what he's wearing on his sleeve with the watch, and that's something else. It's a nice detail. Okay, going to move on next to number 15, which is the... You're kidding, really? That can't be correct in the category, but I guess it is. Okay, Zenith, no. What's a good article? Monochrome again. Monochrome is great. The Chronomaster Sport, yeah, that was a good talking point. I mean, we just chatted about the Defy, which is a bit more unique in that category. So this watch is taking. I really do like what they've done here. And the thing is, they have so much attention on them now that they could pretty much do anything in this area next. I was chatting with a fellow enthusiast. His name goes by the name of Jean-Claude Beaver. He has a channel, and we were chatting about how this brand now with this kind of attention on it could do something like release a diver in the next step, because Zenith doesn't make a dive watch anymore. So they're doing a good job. I know this was a topic of controversy, but the Chronomaster is not an old watch. It's not a new watch, I should say. It's been around for a very long time, and it's in line with all the original pieces that they've had for years and years, and it harkens back to so many references. A386, the Chronomasters from the 80s, if I'm not mistaken there. The subdial arrangement, everything just feels like how you would expect to see an El Primero laid out. And of course, using the new 1/10 of a second caliber or something else too. If given the choice, I would probably opt for the black dial. The white dial is very nice, though. It's difficult to justify. The thing is, though, the prices of these watches is also something to consider. They are not cheap. They are by no means cheap watches. So you really need to think about why you're getting this chronograph. I guess the idea is that many are jumping on this now because the Daytona is impossible to get. And yes, this does share elements. The real thing is the proportions. Proportion-wise, very much caters to that. There was lots of criticism on the bracelets, but if anyone knows the history of these bracelets, Gay Frere as a manufacturer, that's one thing you can direct someone to if they start critiquing the bracelets on these models. Gay Frere manufactured bracelets for everyone in the early years, and no one owns the rights to have a tri-link bracelet realistically. When you think of all the Omegas that use it, and Seikos, and There is no clear ownership. Even this little tab over the top, lots of criticism in virtually every area. But it was a good talk. I think it's nice to have a bit of controversy surrounding a watch from time to time. Junior, thank you for the super chat. Happy Easter to everyone. He says you have to go. It's a pleasure having you here. Hope you've enjoyed my ramblings for 90 minutes. Sippy saying, I heard the bracelet was horrible quality. That's the next thing, is the clasp does seem to be a bit of an issue, a bugbear with a lot of people. And, that's the thing. It's following up on those micro adjusts. I'm so surprised. I should have actually mentioned this when we were talking about the Speedmaster Professional, that new release. I don't know why brands seem to be insisting to incorporate these holes on the... I mean, the real reason is because it's cheap and it's easy to manufacture. But drilled holes on a bracelet at this stage in time, when these things are milled, they're no longer stamped anymore. I don't get it. I really don't. It goes against what the watch is representing. If I go back to the front, sorry if the microphone cuts out a bit. This watch represents something modern, right? In the way it's done. It looks very modern, ceramic, nicely laid out, simplified, kind of 80s, we could say, in the way it's borrowing those inspirations. But then we jump to the clasp. It feels like something that you would expect from a watch from the 80s and the 90s. It's so weird. And the Speedmaster did the same thing. 2 micro adjust holes and that's it. I find it bizarre. The whole mechanical micro adjust system, the idea of having a push button should be on all modern watches now. That's called value for money. And that's what we all want, Doc BBC says the Zenith demonstrates a direction that the 4-digit Daytona. Very good point, Doc. This does feel like the 6263 kind of era, right? With the black bezel. I think that's the model. The 6262, 6263. I think that's it. I don't know. I've handled them. I should know. But yeah, the whole idea of a ceramic bezel surround, nice looking piece. And I'm sure, we've seen how they have been very successful. People are jumping on these watches now. Chaz saying missed opportunity on the clasp. Otherwise, brilliant watch. This would look great on any strap too. There's nothing to go against there. But glide lock for everything. Carrie Floyd, I agree. I think it's something that more brands should pay attention to. It's a pity that they aren't. We are going to look at more pieces that do have the elements that we like to it. Does the new Speedy have a push button adjust? No, it doesn't, Craig. A huge missed opportunity there. And the new Seamaster does. So I do not get it. I really don't get the direction that a lot of these brands are going. It's not expensive. If you have, you have one system throughout all your watches, how can it be an expensive process if that's the one thing you're making? It also means that your quality control can just be improved more and more because you're making more of them, so you don't have any duds at that stage. Where if you have diversity in a line of components, can get a bit iffy. Yeah, we've chatted about the Chronomaster. The Zenith is unreadable. Yeah, it can. It's difficult with the tricolor. Yeah, I agree. It's something else. So let's move away. We've chatted about the Chronomaster way more than enough. This one caught my attention. Piaget Polo skeleton, I think they're calling it. I do love how they have done this. So ultra thin. This watch deserves some love. The Polo is a line of watches. When was it introduced? Like I'm going to say 2015-ish, round about then. And they kind of disappeared. They didn't get much attention to them. That we saw them in boutiques and stores, but they just weren't picked up. They weren't focused on. It's a nice looking machine. But the skeletonizing, I think, just adds that X factor to it. It's not the most readable watch, but in the case of something that's just a time only, this is pretty good. It's pretty good. And we know Piaget. As a manufacturer, they are very well known. Adjustable strap for dive watches only is a dumb marketing. It is. I agree. It's a dumb marketing policy, Patrick. It's so unnecessary. Everyone wants a micro adjust system on their watches. No, I agree. Welcome, Roberto. Welcome to the chat. Mason says, nope, unreadable. And Megan says, the Piaget Sport have the worst resale than GP do on watches. Oof. So the question is, will this start bringing more interest and attention to the line? I don't know. I'm liking this, though. Check, it has a double trigger release for the bracelets. That's quite nice. I just think that the skeletonizing in this case adds some more X factor to a watch that was pretty plain. When I did a video about it, God, I don't know, 2 years ago at this point, I think, so old. I did a few design exercises at revamping the watch. So the fact that they're, similar to watches like the 1159 from AP, they don't seem to be getting much traction. They can now start experimenting with new approaches, and skeletonizing is one way. Better have your cell phone handy if you wear this watch. That's such a good comment, BDev. I mean, look at it. How would you? The only way you could make this watch readable, I mean, if it was me, it would be some kind of brushed rhodium finish, or just painted white hands instead. I don't know why they went with a brushed steel or whatever the finish is. That does just make time telling virtually impossible in direct light, eh? That's pretty nice. I do like the black combo. So yeah, it's a love it or hate it. I think the case design is quite nice, but then we talk about the Genta inspirations and all of that too. Another watch I can't read. Piaget has a cool backstory, nice history. ETS says it's expensive. I should have a look at the price. But enjoyed my first live visit a few weeks ago. Pleasure having you, Roberto. This is a bit different. First format of trying this watch report show about Q1 releases. But yeah, it's either a love it or hate it thing. I do appreciate how you get to enjoy, seeing the mechanics of the crown operating, and you have a micro rotor at the back there, the mainspring being wound up. So it really is very look at the thinness. I mean, that's what these watches are known for. It's very, what was the word? Animated. That's the one I was looking for. Very animated looking dial. Nice and clear and see-through. It feels like Piaget is direct competition with Bulgari. Yeah, I mean, that seems pretty obvious at this point, talking about the Octo. And I'm pretty sure the Octo was released at a later stage. The name font is so Harry Potter. Yeah, right. I like that, Anthony. That's funny. That is funny. Gotta say. Cool looking piece. Not for everyone. Worth discussing because it's a crazy little character trait. But nice example. I thought it was just nice to bring up as a section. Okay, now we can have a look at the Longines Big Eye Titanium. So this is another watch. It's very divisive, actually. I want to quickly address. Now we move to February, by the way, the 9th of February, 2021. So here's the original Big Eye. Stunning little machine. This new effort to make it's so peculiar. We were chatting, I think Samray, we were chatting about the whole thing about stringent military requirements with a lot of these watches. Let's have a look at, do they have any real images? I think these are actually real images, because if you zoom in, there's like speckling on the dial and stuff. Okay, got one on the wrist. So we were chatting about the whole stringent approach to how military watches are done, and deviating away from that can be problematic. The Type 20 dial is gorgeous. I mean, here's the original. Very little known about this, by the way. There's only one of these in the world, apparently, and a collector brought it in. And the result was they thought, no, let's make it. Let's make the watch. And this was the piece that debuted in 2017. And its proficiency is that it is neutral. It has this field watch Flieger aesthetic to it. It's great size, balance. The Big Eye is just that character trait that only the enthusiast would know out there, which I think is also a joy. So you can see how legible this watch is too, which is something that I really love. It's so easy to discern the time and to break up the subdials, the arrangement, the asymmetry, like the original Black the Best, Brent says. So in that way, that's what makes the watch so proficient, is it's easy to see, to read, to use. This new model, trying to breathe some life into the piece, they're going with this textured, fume-looking blue on black. It's okay, it's fine. But then the faux lume on top of it is kind of too much, because, I mean, as you can see, there's a lot going on this dial already, don't you think? It's very busy. And it's hard enough seeing everything at once. So then having that added, I mean, if I move back to, hold on, if I move back to the watch on the wrist, just too much in your face, I think. So nice arrangement. One thing I do appreciate about this, though, is that it's in titanium. And when we're talking about an aviation watch, that sings. An aviation watch for pilots, all about experimental materials and all of that, moving that development forward, that's great. So what they should have done, titanium watch with a slate gray dial, win. I think it would be an absolute win. But as it is now, the original still seems to be the watch that everyone jumps on and appreciates. I don't think they've adjusted any other elements to this piece other than the dial. The size and scale is pretty much the same. Thomas says the Fotina looks nice. Sorry, I just checked out the Bead Blast titanium case. I really dig the titanium case. I agree. I think it's something that makes this watch very different, especially in the chronograph space. The faux patina, it's almost like we're on the back burner with this now, and how brands are introducing it. It's funny that isn't it funny that it's getting old, that people are making watches old? I don't know, but it's an awesome machine. It really is awesome. The lugs look odd coming from the center of the case. Funny, you wouldn't believe, but that's how the original pilots were done. They didn't start at the base. They did start in the center, and that's something they've carried through the whole eagle beak arrangement, similar to the Zen 356, yeah, JDA. So it's fascinating. It's an exercise that I think they could. I mean, just keep the texture on the dial. If it was me, given the option, keep the faux patina. I think that would be nice. Keep the texture on the dial, make it slate gray to go a bit more nicely with, and same with the sub dials. Also make them slate gray to go with a titanium case, and you'll have a win, a real win. and Designer says faux patina is getting old for a discussion. I mean, isn't it strange to emulate something old is now getting old? That's funny. Anyway, we love navigation watches. The AVI 765 Brent. Yep, I agree. It's an absolute charm. These watches, well worth your attention. And there was mention about the cheapest movements, cheapest ETA-based automatic column wheel, vertical clutch. Yeah, it's a win. Okay, and this is something else that's different. And if I remember right, code 41, it's called the NMB24. Now, code 41 has had lots of attention lately. Over the course of the year, I think, this last year, I find it, I don't know if you would call this a micro brand or not, but I find it well worth talking about because it does seem very well considered. 78 grams without the strap. It's a titanium case. They're doing some interesting stuff. And these watches aren't cheap, by the way. They aren't just micro brands. They are definitely pretty expensive in this category, but worth attention. I think this is their first chronograph they've released, and they've done some good stuff with skeletonization. You notice at the base of the dial, we have something very akin to, come on, mouse, spin with me here, Type, the Zenith Defy that we were looking at earlier. Very similar arrangement to how the date circles are on there. Just thought it was nice to look at. I think the ergonomics and the aesthetics of the case is something worth looking at, and the evacuating, very industrial. I guess that's why it speaks to me. Cool looking piece, kind of cushion case, kind of radio mirror inspired. Great proportion and size on the wrist too. My favorite, I think, is still the original. I think that original skeleton is quite special with those bridges and balance. But as far as micro brands go, this one is worth looking at. I think the hexagonal screw arrangement is nice, and everything just seems considered. I think that's the special thing. It's not just like they chose a case and threw a movement in it. They've had to adjust many little facets to get the movement to work properly and everything there. And there are a few, Matt, I don't know if you're the owner of the watch, but we featured a code 41 on the last Wrist Shot Week show. Yeah, so worth looking at. Nice change of pace. Again, we're looking at the more obscure pieces there. You might like the Alto 8 Infinity 2 Design Atelier. I will definitely look it up. As it is, we're doing pretty good. 102 minutes and 17 images. Jeez, I've got to move on. The rotor looks large, Russell says. I don't even know if that is the rotor. It looks like it's secured. Maybe they have a rotor on the outside. Again, I haven't studied this watch fully, but cool looking model. Cool looking example. That's the combo that I think is very nice. Funny, this reminds me of a MOD Seamaster that I actually handled, where the owner had actually put nail varnish on the tips of the hands. I thought, what the hell were you smoking? Why would you do that? So that's cool. Okay, gonna jump to the next example here. I just thought this was a cool piece to bring up. Okay, this is the Seamaster Professional Beijing 20 something or other. Let's see, Beijing. I'm just going to put in, and I'm going to spell it completely wrong. Seamaster Professional Beijing Omega watches. Hold on, a blog to watch has it covered. This this is quite nice. I found it to be quite entertaining. So the Beijing 2022 special edition. This, we were chatting about the Chronomaster Sport and those Daytona influences, and now we have the Yachtmaster influences that everyone would probably jump on and say it's taking it from. So they used this color arrangement, the Olympic colors, of course. If you look on the left-hand side or the middle of the screen, you can see they use the red, green, yellow, blue at the quarters there. Yeah, it's a love it or hate it thing. I do appreciate this watch without the high reflectiveness. I find it to be quite appealing, a bit more like a watch from the earlier years when the Seamaster Professional was just introduced. You know, speckled bezel. Yeah, Raymond, that's a feature they've included. Worth looking at just for fun's sake. Yeah, that's me. Right, so it was you, Matt. Awesome. Sorry that I'm missing you guys. I'm going to hit some of the Caribbean Reserve. I'll be with you in a moment. But then again, Seamaster Professional will always divide opinion. Skeleton hands, the helium escape valve. This one I like because it's a bit more toned down, but we know that Omega, with their limited editions, it's just consistent. They don't stop. Dimitri says, nice bezel, nothing else. It's so good. It's so good. And Foreman says, when the bezel is silver metal color, it's better if the bezel is one piece rather than a silver insert. That's something else to add. So this is the cheaper approach of just adding this in. I don't know what the limited edition amount is. Let's see. How many of these limited to? I would have, I can't see. Nothing. I can't read it. Anyway, nice looking example. Not for everyone, as most of these selections go, but that's the joy. The dial is also pretty nice. Samurai says, yeah, fully blacked out Seamaster Professional just came out too. Don't worry, we'll be talking about that. The black. Definitely talk about that. Next is the Grand Seiko Birch. I think they've called it, right? I think that's the reference. And again, it's that whole, what I wanted to address in this segment is just how they continually mimic nature in such a clear and concise way. I love their textures. And I actually, hold on, I think when I was looking up this watch, Adrian, Bark and Jack did a discussion around this, saying that it's basically move over Snowflake. There's a new competitor, and I agree. I mean, just from the thumbnail title, this is something that definitely speaks our language. Plus, it doesn't have a power reserve on the dial, which is kind of nice. Makes it a bit simpler there. Yeah, probably limited to 2000. Okay, Samurai talking about that, the Olympic edition. So the way they have done this birch wood finish looks just like the bark of trees. And I've worked a lot with birch ply in my life. Got to say that the texture and the grain looks so true. 36,000, so it's a high beat. It's not a spring drive, right? They either have the high beats or they have the spring drive arrangements. But look at that texture. That's what you can admire. And just simple things like the way they've done the batons at the top. Really nicely centered, very elegant. Heat blued hand. It's got a high beat, yeah. So, and something else they have addressed, which I think we can talk about. Are there some good? The clasp is an issue. We can definitely discuss that. I wanted to have a look at the case. Hold on, I'm going to go back. The way the case has been done, I think there are about 8 facets to each lug, which I think is very admirable. We've seen how this watch has evolved over time with the Seasons editions and the GMTs and all those models. Going to be featuring them later on. But they seem to have now taken it even further with the polishing and the way they do it. So I think there are at least 8 edges to each lug, which is quite something. They're definitely doubling down on that effect, that feature. Case profile is gorgeous, very organic, and it's just true to their language. It's so nice seeing a brand that stays true to all of those motifs and typical to their identity and their format. Let's have a look. I'm missing you in the chat, so I'm going to try. Only drawback is it's pricey, Chaz says. Oof. Sorry, Eric. You're talking about what the birds and the beetles. I don't know what's going on. It's all good. Dimitri says great dial, but the hour hand at the 12 marker is not elegant at all. Talking about that double. Yeah, that's something I've just noticed. I didn't even realize having a look at the hand. And one thing just I don't understand about this is that they don't offer micro adjustments with their clasps. you're paying a lot of money for these pieces. I would imagine this is in titanium. Most of the time they are, but maybe it's steel. You would think that there would be a place to micro adjust this watch on the wrist. Sadly, if the half link doesn't fit, then the watch is going to be loose and you can't do anything about it. The beauty is you have a double deployment, which is more comfortable, but the sacrifice is that it's not going to fit everyone. Michael says it's steel. Thank you. Yeah, it's beautiful, Thomas. I agree. As far as a watch that sums up Grand Seiko's method, also nice to see that they didn't fully destroy the case back with a sticker on top of it. So many brands seem to be doing this. They love the idea of ruining crystals by putting their logos on the back of them. Gorgeous looking movement. I love that evacuated bridge. Oh, it's stunning. It really is nice. So power reserve 80 hours. Something else to pay attention to. The bracelet and watch is 175 grams. God, and that's before it's been sized, right? Yeah, it's a nice looking piece. Cool to see that Hodinkey's covered all the macro shots too. So look at those facets on the lugs. Yeah, well worth looking at. Discussed this for long enough. The date will be better at 6. This watch dates. Oh God, I mean, you know what I'll say about dates. It would be so nice that they just eliminate dates on some models. But at the 6, I agree. It's just Seiko's approach. They always have dates at the 3. Good thing they haven't put a day on it too. Heavier than birch. Shane, that's so funny. Yeah. Nice looking piece, gotta say. Well worth addressing. And I'm pretty sure the next watch that we're going to look at is going to be a GMT in a sec. Let's have a look. No, I don't know why I chose this, but should we have a look at it? It's the Bulliver Precisionist X or something. Let's see. We're still in February now. It's good. Yeah, the Precisionist X. I found this to be, I think it's X at the Sport or the Chronograph or something or other. 21, here we go. Bulliver debuts Precisionist X Sports Watch series. You move aside G-Shock, you got a competitor. Do they have any? I think these are all just, let's have a look at it on the wrist if we can. Oh, pixelated for days. So, oh yes, don't worry, ETS, we will be looking at the Doxa forged carbon, of course. That came out in March. We're going to definitely look at that. So can we not? Tiffy, that sums it up, right? Move aside G-Shock, you got competition. I just thought this was something to look at because it's so similar to that Hublot rainbow. And next watch, everyone's saying, look at the carbon bezel though. Come on, you gotta love that. It's definitely not a watch for everyone. Sheesh. I don't even know where it's taking its inspirations from. It's got G-Shock to it, but then it's also got the they're obviously trying to hammer home the Genta-esque-ness. I love it. This is what's cool about these releases, that we could really have I see vomit going on in the chats, and good fun. Yeah, Precisionist 262 kilohertz. Let's do the movement and all the rest there. Okay, nice looking watch. It's $975. So for someone out there who wants to start in this hobby and who wants to get something that kind of resembles a G-Shock, but also has the Genta feel to it, the X-Shock. Yeah, Shane, the X-Shock sums it up. Is it still on the screen? No, it's not, Mark. Let's have a look at this. This one really, really interested me. Professional, and it's the America Cup, no? And 2021. I don't know if this is much better, realistically, when we talk about the the aesthetics of a watch. Looks Bell and Ross. I mean, that's pretty good, right? Oh, I love monochrome. Why do they take such good photographs? America's Cup, all about yacht racing. And Omega made yet another limited edition regatta timer. So worth looking at here. More like I am in shock, not X-Shock, G-Shock, Raymond. Yeah, right. Yes, they do, Megan. They do make great watches. Their movements are just pioneers. They deserve a lot more love. That's why I thought it would be good to chat about it. But obviously, the audience did not like it. Yeah, understandably so. I like this Omega better. So what just fascinates me about this piece, I have this funny affinity when it comes to diving chronos. There's something, especially in this watch in itself, that I love. That it has all this stuff in it that's just so unnecessary. It needs more pushes, Eric. Yeah, I agree. I mean, it does. It needs an 8th one down at the bottom here. There's something so cool about a dive watch. the squeaking chair is, it's what, 2 hours in, the squeaking chair is starting to act up. There's something so cool about just having a dive watch that is compact with everything on top of it. So you've got the chronograph complications, the dive bezel, you've got a date, but then you've also got this cool little feature at the side here, which locks the chronograph while you're using it. So if you want to be sure that it's not going to be interfered with, you hit that lock mechanism and nothing will deviate the time telling. And of course, being a regatta timer, it basically counts in 5 intervals. And there we go, chrono lock. Oh, I love these renders. This format worked out pretty well. I'm surprised. The funny thing, Eric isn't joking. I mean, Eric knows his dive watches and he knows what he likes. So this is it. So we see the typical arrangement of having, you know, the counterbalance, not 007 here. It's actually America's Cup. Definitely divisive. They've done some good ones of these in the past too. I think they released one about 5 years ago. The red button is the octopus counter. I mean, it's good, right? So regatta timing, countdown indicator. I think this, I have no idea how this separate window works inside here, but it has to do with minutes, hours. I haven't read up the specs. Another thing to address, which really caught my attention, was the way that the bracelet, the strap or bracelet can be interchanged. You now have, isn't it great that we're moving in the modern direction where straps can be removed easily? I love it. I love it. I'm going to make a video about spring bars suck. And in it, it's going to be all about, you know, you're dealing with something that's so archaic next to what you're working with on a watch today. I love how we're starting to move in a place where we can do this kind of stuff. The technology is slow, very procedurally slow, but they seem to be picking up. Nice strap release, tiny stacker says, yeah. And there we go, bracelet attachment. So what I loved mostly about this watch, now that it's come back to me, is the idea of concept, of prototype, of development amongst all of these little things. You've got chronograph locking features. You've got some very interesting hands on the sub dials, which are worth looking at. You've still got the skeleton hands, but it's actually very relevant with this piece when you look at it, because you can read the chronograph through the hands, which is important. It could be useful on occasion. And then it has these things like adjustable, you know, removable bracelet links and all that. And Megan says that Hublot came up with that on divers 10 years ago, talking about the chrono lock. I know it's not original to the piece. There's lots of vintage chronos in this category too, that have the same feel. Oh, no, hold on. Going to get to an awesome little Breitling in a second. Nice to also see the movement, the twin barrel, the movement, the watchmaking, as we know, is stunning. So yeah, good looking watch. I'm impressed by that development. Good time of the year to talk about spring bars. But thanks for that, BDev. Moving to Breitling Deus. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. We're going to try. Breitling Top Time Deus. So this one came out quite recently, I think. Do not open Forbes articles. You will get flooded with advertising. Just a hat tip. I'm looking at Revolution Watch's discussion around this piece. Can we click on the images? We can't. I think I'll stay on this. No, let's see if I can find something else. This is a nice shot, though. Let's see. I saw one from a blog to watch. That's a little bit easier to scroll through. Hopefully they have some shots to look at. Okay. So Breitling is killing it. They're doing such a good job with their releases. And old style Hoya, yeah. Edox, that's the one, Megan. Edox has that locking system, I remember now. That's something they still use on a lot of their pieces. So chatting about their 765 AVI and so many other examples, Breitling is doing such a nice job with their re-editions. Under new CEO, he is taking back a lot of things they've wanted to do. They've adjusted their prices. They've made their sizes more attainable, and the prices just in general for these watches are getting better and better. And this is a limited edition release in partnership with Deus, which is a motorbike manufacturer, I think. Deus, I really, really don't know. Samra says, Stewie Griffin, what the Breitling Deuce. That's it. They call it the Deuce or the Deus. I don't know. I see that and I see Latin. Sorry, but that's a typical Family Guy right there. I love it. Thanks for that, Samra. And in benzene veritas, basically meaning that in petrol, in gasoline, we trust. That's the summary there. But just simple things like the cigarette hands are the reverse, where the filter is longer than the actual cigarette itself. Very late 60s, 70s. Top Time, I've learned that it was a more attainable chronograph in this category, where the Navi timers and those AVI watches were much more expensive in this category back in the day. The Top Time was like the Seiko 5, something that brings more people into the area of watch ownership. And I mean, the Top Time made its debut. I loved it in Thunderball, in Connery's Thunderball, my favorite James Bond film of all time. I cannot get enough. I could literally sit and watch that movie twice, maybe even 3 times on the same day. There's so many little things. It's the watches, it's the scene, it's the setting. It just feels so right. And at the time, Sean Connery he'd nailed that role at that point. He knew exactly what he was doing as James Bond by then. So yeah, Hamilton Intramatic, we're going to have a look at that Samurai later on. Very true. I mean, the way this watch has been arranged with the subdials, very much like an Intramatic piece. But it's just the colors. We started chatting about tropical. I'm drinking a Caribbean Reserve. This feels like something you would wear on the beach, don't you think? Thunderball shot in the Bahamas. Oh, it's my favorite. I love it. Such a cool film. Any more comments? Let's have a look. Is it a snap-on case back? You're kidding me, Roar of the Tiger. That's something. Well, hey, most of these chronos have 30 meters water resistance regardless. So, I mean, it's kind of irrelevant, right? These watches aren't made for the water, but just simple things like when you think about who it's catering to, the whole racing scene, you've got the appropriate rally strap, not with hectic stitching or anything on it. It's very plain and toned down. The typical Breitling color palette of the back of their straps. Also just love the deco sort of arrangement with the subdials there and the different colors. You notice the oranges are different shades between the lightning bolt seconds hand and the typeface. They're doing a good job, really doing a good job. German flag colors, Samurai, yes, sure is. You Only Live Twice, also great film. Yeah, all good. So we've had a nice chat about this watch. It's definitely worth looking at. I think they've had a few specials on these pieces, and we are going to be looking at the Hamilton Intramatic releases later on too. I think March time they came out, so closer around there. Just don't use the chrono underwater. Don't recommend it. And Megan mentioning, don't you notice the 2 different colors? Yeah, 2 different colors on the chrono hands. It's nice. It's really nice attention to detail. Okay, so we're going to shift now to another Grand Seiko. I think these are the Seasons. Seiko Seasons 2021. I'm trying to look at the screen while typing. It's not working. Okay, Hodinky, do we have anything good? Live pricing. Okay. Are these all renders, or will we see the watch on the wrist? So we've seen this before, the cherry blossom and all the eventful springtime color schemes and everything there. This compared to that birch model is the case design is nowhere near as exciting. Tiny Stacker says X-Nay on the green dial. Okay, I won't mention it, don't worry. Disco Volante, yes, another one. Okay, dinner time back in a few. Brent, take your time. We're still going to be here. Don't like that crown. Yeah, it doesn't. Oops, sorry about that glitch there. I don't know what happened. Compared to that first model, the birch case, this one is just not, isn't it funny to say, it's just not exciting. The dial is gorgeous. The dial really is nice, but the case feels almost uninspired, which is weird to say. And we were just looking at the Deus with the straight lugs, the Deuce. Okay, I'm going to call it the Deuce. The straight lugs feels, I mean, this is almost exact with the way it's been done. But the 24-hour scale is great. It's very practical. I think as far as a daily wearer goes, there's been chat about it before. I think there's a couple of owners on Hodinky who talk about this watch being their only watch if given the chance. This seems to just miss the mark. Yeah, I think there's something, it just feels too plain. Ooh, wow. Okay, now we're talking. That's something else. Again, the dials. I don't know why the internet page is glitching out there, but that's what happens at the 2-hour mark. Look at that dial. So now this looks like a reverse birch. It's a horizontal birch finish. Isn't that something? Turquoise blue. This is on a lady's wrist by the looks of things. Yeah, great colors. That's what they do know how to work. You notice how we have this emerald green, textured emerald green with gold accents. Here we have a very pale blue. Oh, it's nice. Very nice combo. And here we go again. Yeah, charming. So again, the one thing that just takes it away from me, takes me out of the experience, is that case. And the crown is also looks a bit too old-fashioned. I think it would probably look a lot better if it was flat to the case and not as thick in profile, given the perspective. The YUSGS, again, I haven't looked at the full. I'll have a look at the article when we get to it. Nice texture, though. It's great. I'm really enjoying this segment. We get to see a lot in this space and also just appreciate the little macro details. I hope it's working. Again, this is me flying by the seat of my pants. I don't know if this is the spring one, Samurai. I'll have a look at the description once we through it. Still, no micro adjust system here. I do not understand why. Very unfortunate. It's so easy for them to just add a bit of extension to the, the full length of the clasp. But still, it's very neat and it would probably wear appropriately. This is obviously the winter one. Okay. White dial. That's nice. Okay. This is better. I have no idea why the Hodinkee page is glitching. This looks a lot more appropriate. I do like that texture to that dial. And the hand choice. I mean, this looks like a rose gold hand. Isn't that nice? Very clean and simple. Thin bezel is meh. That's another thing. I mean, it's proportion based. I don't even know the size. I'm guessing it's 40 mils. I'll have a closer look at the specs before leaving the page. Maybe see these in person will change how I feel. Yeah, I'm sure it will. I'm sure it will. I've never actually handled any of these seasons models. I have handled a spring drive diver before, but other than that, these models I haven't seen. So yeah, that's the one thing. It's just the criticism on the case design, but that is also just classic, timeless. But then it just feels like another Grand Seiko. Grand Seiko as a brand has pushed the boundaries. The question is why? I mean, we were chatting about redesigning these watches and what we would do. Why do they still feature Grand Seiko at the base of the dial? If I could just, hold on, come back. I think I've just botched this presentation on the left-hand side. If given the choice to edit this watch, all I would do would be to get rid of the Grand Seiko text and put the GS at the 12. It's simpler, it's a bit more refined, a bit more streamlined, and you have the full package. It would probably look a lot more exciting, believe it or not. Yeah, anyway, I see Touristus. It looks like he's leaving us. Thanks for the mention, Thomas. Thank you for joining us, Touristus. You've been with us for 2 hours. You guys are all champions. Just sit and listen to me talk along. And Carrie says, why can't we get one without a date? I know. That's something we all wish, date complications. So there's lots. This is the Hodinkee article, and they talk about the SBGJ251 and SBBR249, and it just goes on and on. So 4 watches representing the seasonal pieces of every quarter. It's nice. It's quite fitting for the show. Can definitely discuss these in more details. I like the Cherry Blossom is probably my favorite that they've ever done. But the watch does still look kind of plain. Okay, let's move on to our next example, also Seiko, and it's the Laurel Alpinist. I think they're calling it right. It is. This one was quite a surprise. To anyone who knows the relevance, I'm sure Raymond is one of the guys here who loves his laurels. Rests on his most of us. I mean, me, I rest on my laurels, right? This is the original, the OG, and Watch Talk with the Punters covered this watch a couple of weeks back, I think. Hold on. There we go. So here's the original on the right-hand side, and there's the recreation on the left. I really like it. And they've done the bunt straps so well too. This is fun. That's another thing. Watches take themselves too seriously a lot of the time, and this is what I loved so much about these reissue style pieces, that whole developmental period. There was no right or wrong answer. It was just slap it on, have some fun, put some craziness to the... I mean, the Alpinist text is just gorgeous. I love it. So nicely balanced. The hand set and how it works with the quarters reminds me of a Zodiac Seawolf from the 50s. Why is this a thing? Carrie says. Yeah, I mean, that's another way to look at it. Loving the strap. Yeah, I gotta admit, we'll have a look at some more examples now. Yeah, so further evolving through, we've got more. Oh, geez, I got a full range of these. I didn't know that. I just want to stick to the original. Okay, so that's something. They've got a whole classification of them. So they don't have any profile shots of the watch in presentation, but I like what they've done with the strap on this model. I'll try and zoom out for you to look at. Really cool looking bunt strap. The stitching is crazy and it's fun. These are also limited editions, I'm sure, limited releases, but way too expensive. Yeah, I can imagine they're probably stupidly priced. Let's have a look. I'm just about to take a hit from the coffee. I'll have to go back. So they give you the full history of this watch on a blog to watch. specifications. I'm guessing it uses a similar 6L35 movement, so it's in the new Pro Specs range. Of course, everything has a Pro Specs badge on it, regardless. And prices, I can't imagine what the limited one is. Oh, here we go. This is nice to see. If it's too bright, shield your eyes. But hold on a sec. Here is some renditions of the watch for you to look at. I don't think these are real, but looks good. Nice to see a bunt strap. Date location, yeah. I mean, that's another thing at 4:30. Isn't that appealing? I like it. Black dial. You don't even notice it. Again, I mean, I didn't even pick up on it when I was chatting around it. I like that positioning. Fun watch. I think a lot of us would enjoy wearing. It doesn't need to scream Seiko to be something that's appealing. I think aesthetics wise, it has it in spades. This is a really nice example. Check out that strap. I love it. It's so fun. Strap within a strap. It's the way to do it. Double strapping. Okay, moving on to 25. Oh my goodness. I think we are getting a bit Grand Seiko heavy now. I've got to pull up the reference number to this thing. Let's see. Grand Seiko. I think it's the SLG. Okay, so it's the SLG H007. I don't know. I guess these are all released in tandem. Blog to watch. I think we're going to look at a Dinky's piece here. So another piece that uses funky textures, and I think the reason why I shortlisted this was I found the texture on the dial to be quite amazing, worth looking at. It's actually quite crazy how many Seikos we've just been running through at this time. Any more chats I'm missing? Yeah, wood grain. That's it. It's very seldom we see wood grain textures on watches. Hey, I'm thinking that the one that really comes to mind first is the FP Journe partnership with that shotgun manufacturer that I can never name properly. So here we see a similar case. This looks exact. I think this is exactly the same style case to that birch that we just saw earlier. Looking at the facets on the lugs, that profile is very nice. I do love how they curve it there. Yeah, I think we spent enough time on Seiko. It's been pretty good. They've had their own little segment during the show. Whoa, it's quite big. I wonder if it's like 42. Still, nice presentation. Again, the date window, love it or hate it. Having Grand Seiko typed on the dial. I mean, again, I think just removing that, putting the GS at the top would clean it up a lot more. Overall, I think the watch would look a lot more considered, which is funny. You would expect that removing more would make it look cheaper in a way. But something about it tells me that this watch is all about simplicity and being as plain as ever. Megan says, not sure about the Blackwood dial. I kind of like it. Kind of like plywood in its appearance. Mr. C, $1. Welcome. Bang, bang, McBang face, Mason. I don't know what the name of the manufacturer is. You have to look. Just look up FP Journe shotgun. And I'm sure they'll give you something to check it out. Okay, moving on. We've chatted about Grand Seiko a lot. Please don't tell me there's another one. Okay, this was something. I thought this would be good to look at. Marie Lacroix, Aiken Ventura. What's Maurice? Excuse me. Maurice. This is not good. And hold on a sec. Acon Ventura GMT. All right. So we can see where some of these inspirations are coming from. Clear as day. But as far as a brand goes, something worth looking at. I do really enjoy. I see oof in the chat. Yeah, it's definitely not for everyone. I really do enjoy the way they've addressed material on this watch. The contrasting colors, the ceramic bezel. It's so weird. You've got a ceramic bezel and then you have steel elements on the outside, on the edges, like bumpers. You'd imagine that the ceramic would be for the bumpers. That would be reversed. The system would be reversed if it was anything more practical. And then we have this. It's such a typical AP Royal Oak looking bracelet too. I'm surprised. I haven't looked at these too much, and then you have the orange GMT. You can see where the inspirations are coming from. It's a combination of Explorer 2 and AP Royal Oak in a strange package. Very peculiar. Nice looking hex screws on the crown guard though. Taking a hit from the whiskey, I think. Holland and Holland, that's it, BDev, thank you. So it's the FP Journe Holland and Holland collaboration. The bezel looks like I'm in Vegas, Samurai. It does. It sure does. Pretty nice looking watch. It's mentioned about the batons on the dial. Put $100 on 22 black, Buckheim says. Russell says, absolutely fabulous. I don't know if you're being sarcastic or not, but the combo, you know what? The combo actually reminds me of Ulysse Nardin, their dive range in a way. Nice balance. Something worth looking at, I think. Oh, no. This, on the other hand, this is so generic, it's terrifying. If you ever see a watch with a double deployment looking like this, I tell you what, they cost all of $5 to bring out. That kind of ruins it a bit. You can have so many other double deployments. This is a bit, I don't know what they're priced at. I'll have a look in a second. Nice details though. Black window on a white dial. That's something bold. Yeah, worth looking at though. Nice presence. Chaz, thank you for the super chat. For everyone, happy Passover, Easter weekend. Yes, absolutely. I hope you're enjoying yourself, kicking back like everyone in the chat. Absolute pleasure having you here. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. So yeah, this watch is worth looking at, worth talking about. Oh, they have a black dial too. Can you believe they use a red hand? Gee, that's funny. You can see where their inspirations come from. And then we actually have the times. That's nice. They have the time zones printed on the back. Practical application. Nice spring bars to remove at the back there. Easy to adjust. Okay, yeah. So you can kind of see why I liked bringing this up. It's worth looking at. It has some unique little aspects and elements to it. A nice combination of pieces. Let's see what the price is. Basically 2,500 Swiss francs. Not bad. Not bad. We're moving into on the higher end scale in the territory. Cool looking piece. Nice features. Okay, next up to 27. Zenith One with this crazy looking dial. Let's see what the reference is here. And now we have just jumped to March. Can you believe? Zenith One, and it's the DS. That's what it's called, the DS. Now, Zen, as they call it, grinding dial. I like that. Like most of us probably know this, we've been chatting about this brand a lot lately, and well deserving of attention, Zen as a maker. It's crazy. I think I saw a review from Tim Mosso today. No, it's he does that weekend watches show, and you can just tell how much he loves Zen as a brand. It's great. I find it fascinating. He has the EZM 1.1, and he seems to have sold his entire collection for that watch, and that's all he wears as his daily. And I find it incredible. I mean, when he talks about just everything from loom to the tegimented steel, the case is super well treated. It's super hardcore. And then just, I think the balance, the whole U1, U50 line with these batons and the handset, it's gorgeous. It's so 80s in the way it's been done. The bezel, similar way. The offset crown is practical. Everything, I mean, it's so German in the way it's been done, right? It's been so considered. Everything down to the bracelet with the H-links, and the texture on the dial is the talking point. And I don't know, you either love it or hate it. Most definitely. It's almost like you sent this to your watchmaker and they sent it back with a bit of a defect. The watchmaker was having a very bad day, and they decided, I'm just going to take it out on the dial. So they take a spring bar tool, just give it a good hammering. When you want something more industrial, yeah, that's it. Why put Zen on a rubber strap? ETS, I find there's one example. I'll actually pull it up for reference. I was looking at it, U50, and it's on a red strap. Let's see if I can. I mean, that is just sublime. For me, if I was to buy this watch tomorrow, that's the one I would get. How cool does that look? I mean, really, this is like sports galore, fun. It's got it all integrated. I mean, the strap's actually integrated into the case, you know? Yeah, U50 with the black bezel, black on black, those squared off baton hands. I mean, this is the one I would jump on, given the chance. I would totally pick up one of these tomorrow. But the fun is these watches are also strap monsters, as we know there. Oh, the irony of getting a U1 DS tegimented scratched up dial. Isn't that funny? Yeah, I mean, as we know, the tegimented steel is so scratch resistant. It's ridiculous. I think that was the idea. You know, Germans can sometimes have a good sense of humor. I'm kidding. I know I've dealt with a lot of Germans in my life, and the approach can be either very serious or very whimsical. And this is the whimsical take. Very good points. Irony with the way they've done their dials. And Zen, I mean, chatted about it before, that Zen, if they had to boost their social media presence and push out their marketing and advertising more, can you imagine the attention these watches would get? They deserve it. I think they deserve a lot more love overall. Sippy says, Zin has lost their good value for money nowadays as they increase their price with almost no improvement. Is that so? And is that them trying to keep up with the industry and what's going on? I don't know. Still worth looking at. They have some of the best loom in the industry. They're definitely not afraid to experiment with materials, with fabrication. They love it. So it's good. Well worth discussing. I'm glad that this watch came out, and I do love their rubber straps. I think if I owned this watch, I would most definitely have it on a rubber strap with a deployant clasp. I mean, it's the business. Okay, going to move on to 28. Now we've got our Intramatics. Hamilton Intramatics, and they call it like the H or something. Hold on. Get the crib notes up. Hamilton Intramatic Chronograph H. That's it. There's going to be a long one. Intramatic H chronograph and monochrome. These watches, oh wow. So there's the original. I don't know what we should have, reverse panda or panda. We haven't had many panda dials on display. I'll leave that up there. So here's the original in the center of the screen. Well worth looking at for a sec. Let me just get back to the chat. Samurai says Zin 556, yes, gone up almost $1,000. Really? And maybe is that because of demand? I don't know. If it was me, the EZM lines and the U lines are so good to look at. So we're going to keep the Panda up. The Intramatic is a classic. We had a look at the Top Time. Nice how that rhymed. Intramatic is a classic. The whiskey is obviously working. And they've just gone, what I've noticed, just briefly before starting the show, I had a look at the original Intramatics, and they all had date complications at the 6. So these watches are now taking it a bit further and keeping it more toned down, dressed down. Notice that it does have the faux loom that you either love or hate, but it's been used sparingly. And on a chronograph as simple as this, I really think it looks awesome. Hitting the whiskey, I'll be with you now. Mentioned that it's a perfect strap. I think that this watch just sings. The dial too. The dial color. I love an off-white dial. Okay, whiskey again. And don't you think it's nice how, I mean, looking at the Panda model, how the black hand for the chronograph is well set out. There's just such a good understanding of what a chronograph needs to be. Something easy to tell the time, but then you also have the ability to run the chronograph, read the scales very simply. The pencil hands are great. It just all makes sense. I think that's the take home. That's a thick case, though. Who mentioned that the case was like 15 mils in the chat? The loom is not real. No, it's not. This is a reissue, essentially. Again, we're looking at another reissue model. Someone mentioned in the chat that the case thickness was tall. That is quite surprising. It's mechanical too, so it's a hand wind. Hamilton watches for overpriced for what you get, in my opinion. Megan says, yeah, I mean, best bang per buck in this category. If it was me, it would be the khaki. Compared to, I was actually looking at the W10 recently. Not the W10. They call it the Pilot Pioneer. Let me pull it up quick for everyone. Pilot Pioneer Mechanical. I think that's the reference. So I always just call it the W10 because of its original call sign. These watches you can get for extremely good prices. Simple hand-wound movement, but it doesn't have things like a sapphire crystal. And they are very expensive for what you're getting. Where next to it, the Hamilton khaki has all the quirks, plus sapphire and everything there. I think it's a much better value for money watch next to the. So what you're really getting out of this piece is you're getting something that has those classical inspirations that a lot of us can love. But as for the Intramatic, it does step it up a bit in this level. I don't know what I'll have a look at the prices for anyone interested later on. Samurai, you mentioned the case thickness. It is a monster. It really looks, I mean, it does look like 15 mils, but the colors, I'm so sucked into. The thing that comes to mind when I look at this chronograph is, yes, everything is correct here, right? It just has this, effectiveness. It feels completed. It doesn't feel like it's lacking anything. There's good balance between the type at the top and the bottom. The Panda arrangement, the bicompacts there, the contrasting whites, it's very easy to read. The black seconds hand is stunning. Oh my, and this is even cooler. God, it looks so good. You got it. You've got to admit, this looks so good. Wow. 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 The only issue is you can't read the hands very well. But other than that, I love that reverse panda. Oof. It's very nice. You also get better finishing. Tippy, good points. Very good points. Yes. Catching up here in the chat. Is this a limited edition and what size? Andreas, I will pull up the article now and have a look. Mechanical wording is stupid. Good point, Russell. I mean, why do you need to mention that? I think the only reason why they did it, I'm guessing it's keeping with the original. Let me go back. Hold on a sec. Oh, that's very strange. I do not understand that. That is so peculiar. I prefer this. Good point. Russell has his eye on detail. The idea of putting automatic or mechanical on your watch doesn't make sense anymore, really. Like Rolex, Oyster Perpetual, I guess that's their call sign, but you don't need to tell people that it's a perpetual movement today. But this is a hand-wound watch, and it's that thick. That's what I still can't understand. But what an awesome aesthetic, though. This is like Hoya Carrera, just nicely done, so nicely done. So that's it. I mean, I'm falling in love with the aesthetics, but not loving the quirks. I do kind of, in a way, I do appreciate, I'm saying kind of a lot, I'll stop. I do appreciate that the mechanical is there to counterbalance the Hamilton name. I'm wondering what else they could put there instead. Something a bit more meaningful, impactful. All Rolex are oysters. Time to take it down. Yeah, I don't know what that was about. Nice looking piece, though. The presentation, worth looking at. So Samurai says, right, but when you see the thickness in person, have you had a look at it? I'm quite surprised. You would only expect casing of this thickness when you're dealing with a fully automatic watch, at least something with an automatic rotor. This was made during a collaboration with Breitling and Hoya. Okay, that makes sense. Top Time era. Anthony says this watch looks like a Valjoux 7750 movement. That is pretty thick. And the 7750 was is it a hand wound? I'm sorry, I'm very not versed with these movement complications. If it had a sapphire back, it must look like a triple split at 15. Yeah, nice. I mean, I've got to say, impressed. Nice looking aesthetics. Huge downside that they are expensive. Let's actually have a look at the pricing if I can get it for us to have it browse. These articles are so helpful. So it's a 40 mil case, which is nice. 14.3 mils. Whoa, that's insane. That is insane. That's so unnecessary. And that does ruin, you know what? This is supposed to be elegant, right? That's the whole underlying theme to this piece. It's supposed to have this elegance feel to it. I mean, the way the profile, the way the aesthetics work, it feels like the dress sports chrono that you want. But you can't even slip that under a sleeve. That's quite an adjustment. I'll have a look at the move. Hold on, they say automatic. Executed contrast in the automatic. Hold on. I think they'll give you the movement specs at the bottom. Super Luminova. Really, it's such a divisive watch when I think Valjoux 7753. Okay. Yet without its automatic winding plate. Can you imagine if they put the rotor there as well? What would happen? It would be like 17 mils. 60 hours power reserve. Okay. Still, prices. US dollars, 2,100 US dollars. That's quite a lot. Yeah, I'm so divided. This is actually, when I think of all the watches we've had a look at. Oh, hold on. And the voice is going. Fisherman's Friends time. Got them on board. Let's have a quick. If anyone is new to the page, my unofficial sponsor is Fisherman's Friend because it always saves my life. Let's see. Need cherry. I'm so drawn to the aesthetics of this dial. I think it's one of the best executed chronos out there. Honestly, the presentation is gorgeous. Black dial, white dial. But then thickness. That deserves an automatic rotor. Peculiar. Very peculiar. Okay, moving on next. Nice piece. Unfortunately, not. Yeah, 2K roughly. Chrono Craze mentions. Mine is automatic, but it's not that bad, Tippy. Yeah, interesting. Moving to this funky thing. This will definitely divide opinion. Philippe Pantone. Hold on, there it is. So this cropped up. We see a lot of collaboration watches. This one's worth looking at. We were chatting about rainbow dials earlier on, rainbow Hublots and all that stuff. Here we go with another Defy 21. Mention about the retro logo. Yeah, PDev, of course. I mean, all those little things add up. They're all just, they feel appropriate to this watch and this model. Wow, but that case thickness, I don't know what was going on there. That is so peculiar. You would not expect that. So the Philippe Pantone, he's an artist. Skittles, yeah. I mean, we can definitely, when we get to the micro, what am I saying micro details, there's some funny stuff going on here. The one thing that's kind of defines his approach are these jagged edges to the lightning bolt hands. Just the subdial here is enough to give you a headache if you look at it. More like modern, yeah, more like art than a rod. I mean, this is definitely a different take, Megan, I agree. So we've had a look at the Defy 21. This is just a collaboration project. I feel like this is heat blued, but it doesn't look like it. I think it's been painted this way. Nice looking movement, great play on the lighting and the colors there. And just on a side note, I can't believe how quick it takes Fisherman's Friends to clear up my throat. I mean, honestly, a couple of seconds ago, I was really rough. Voice was rough. I didn't even have to clear my throat. The Fisherman's Friend did it. Must be the eucalyptus or something. It's incredible. So yeah, I mean, we've chatted about the Defy 21 already, but this Philippe Pantone, this is his approach. I think I'll have a look at where he comes from. I think he hails from Brazil or something. But the whole jagged edges and these funky looking 3D elements is what he incorporates. There he is. So nice looking watch. It's quirky. There's some weird features, like you have FP number 1 on the case, which is, it's a collaborative exercise. We do like a black on black model though. Oh, brain power dwindling. Fisherman's Friend plus whiskey, a great combo. Not always the best though. Unofficial sponsor. It's so funny. Nice looking model. Not for everyone. Definitely the prototype looking piece. Aha. Going back to Longines. Now these did stir a bit of interest. Call this the Heritage. I can never get it right. The Heritage Diver. And I'm just going to say 2021. Is that right? I don't know. February 21. Yes. Monochrome. Okay, now we can have a discussion around these pieces. I saw one of these going up for sale, coming out of Peru, I think. And this is the original, by the way. What an awesome machine. You can still find these vintage models out there, and would recommend, highly recommend a compressor style model in this area. I see Tao is joining us. Welcome. Welcome, Tao. We've had a good time chatting about all sorts. And Mark's saying, that is the soundbite we need to send to Fisherman's Friends to get you sponsorship. Yeah, right. Yeah. I mean, I've been meaning to email them. It's just, time gets ahead of you. Just today, last time I checked the watch, it was 7:30. Checked again, it was 9:30. The day just goes in a flash, and I kind of overslept a little bit this afternoon to get the show going, but it's all good. We're back in. Oh, Demetrius, 2:30 in the morning. I can't thank you enough for staying up to watch these shows, man. Really, seriously, I have an excellent Sunday, and I hope you have a great meal and just enjoy yourself in lovely Greece, making me jealous. So, Longines Heritage Diver, beautiful compressor case, and now we're jumping to, I mean, they didn't reference the earlier models with just the standard black dial and everything there, but they brought out 2 models, one in blue and one in brown. Gotta say, I mean, I think 90% of us here will be going, let's get some community feedback in the chat. Either type in blue or brown in the chat, and we can have a good reference to what we would be picking up given the chance. I think most of us probably would be going for one over the other. And Demetrius saying, thank you. That's my pleasure. Absolute pleasure. Bonaventure, that compressor watch is fine. It's great. There's one downside to it, though, which we can talk about. I don't think it affects this one as much as the other diver they have in this category. But I would say, ooh, okay, seeing some browns, blues, little box, big box, lots of browns. Judging by the arrangement, I'm seeing, getting some blues, browns. Okay, I'm seeing the brown is slightly ahead, slightly ahead. Do we have some real images of these pieces? Come on, we have to, please. Oh, that's probably as good as we'll get. So the brown, resembles what we would expect to see from the tropicalized model. That would be, something that's very popular with the originals. Whatever has no date. Sadly not. That's another thing. Why would they put a date on it? There are real examples out there, the originals that do have dates. But this watch is either a love it or hate it. It's definitely something that is true to its time. Wilson, still going strong. Of course. I mean, 2.5 hours. Tell you what, coffee and whiskey, they do work wonders for the brain. The whiskey gets you inebriated because this is like 40%, 43%, and the double shot of coffee is what keeps you going. So you're riding this hammered but very alert state, and it's quite good. I mean, it helps with the nerves, it helps with the confidence, but at the same time, it just keeps you consistent. Nice looking piece, these heritage models. The only downside to them, I think they're 42 mils in size. Let's have a look at the specs. 1959. So they brought this out in 2007, the original. That's crazy. Let's zoom in a bit. Classic. So 42 mil. That's okay. 42 mil size is fine, especially that you have the inset bezel. That's good. But the case, they don't mention the lug to lug. The most important feature that I'm actually so surprised brands don't cover, why any blogger doesn't cover, is that lug profile. That is so important to focus on, because that really is what defines the watch and how it wears on your wrist. I didn't know until recently that my ideal size, my maximum, is 49 mils lug to lug. Anything further than that, the watch looks a bit overblown. And it's finding that proportion, that correct proportion on the wrist, where it doesn't look too big, too small. Be very pedantic in this hobby, don't you think? Yeah. So Dan the Watchman says, sounds like a fancy Four Loko. It is, most definitely. Playing those hard techno tunes. Is that what you're doing at the moment, Eric? It's all good. That's great. Love it. So a vintage 42 as well. Oh, so it's not upsized. Thanks, Orange Hand. That was dumb of me. I should have thought of that through. So yeah, the one issue with these divers is the lug length might be a bit too long for people. But then that I have a soft spot for these reissue based models. And I mean, the brown dial is so nice. Blue dial is also good. But I feel it's just been so overused today. Blue is everything, Like it says, we need a watch club to share pieces like these, and Mark P can look after them. Imagine having an ability to have this trade, a trading scheme, some kind of sharing program. That would be so good. Brent, thank you so much, man. Thank you. You've been a part of the show the entire time. I appreciate it. I really, really appreciate it. Hope you enjoyed. We're still going. We've got nine or so pieces left. Can you believe this show might be quite short? How's that? Yeah, but there are still there's some bangers now by the end, because we've seen some good stuff. The sub bass is rattling the windows. Eric, that's so good. Okay, moving to 31. Okay, nice. Okay, this is gonna be good. It's just a CQ. I'm gonna call it olive. I don't know what they've officially called it. Time and Tide, Fratello. Let's have a look at Fratello's discussion. That's December. 2021. Come on. I want 2020 articles here. Time and Tide seems to have covered it the best. Okay. Yeah, and it's interesting. Look what they've done here. They've actually categorized it under olive, and you've got separate articles. I saw this the other day. You've got separate articles related. Nope, I'm obviously wrong. From what I saw the other day, you have separate articles linked to olive drab. Okay, gonna scroll into this and have a chat. Do we have any real life pictures, or are these all renders? I wonder. I guess these are all renders. Oh, here we go. How's the resolution? Not the best. You're just going to have to squint. Okay, so let's get back into the chat and carry on. Wearing my 1655. Oh, Orange Hand. We all want a 1655 in our lives, don't we? Yesterday, Good Friday, went to the hotel, went up, check in, and asked the receptionist to pump him for the night. Nice, Raymond. I did not understand that line very well. That was a bit of a Freudian slip from my end. Andreas says, why don't you drink Irish coffee during these shows? That would be, yeah. I mean, that's one thing. I don't like, what's funny? I don't actually dig Irish coffee. It's never been anything that's gelled with me much. I enjoy the separate tastes. I guess it's just appreciating the flavors of each. That's my excuse. Okay, let's chat about the CQ, because Cedar Canoe actually left a comment on the community post when I listed this watch earlier. wanting to know my thoughts on it. When I click on this image, it takes me to Blogspot. So I can't actually go back to the original article, which is strange. Anyway, let's chat about it. So this being the modern take, I would imagine it's 41 mils, based on that original 68, no, 65. I can't remember the error. But the dial layout is something to either like or hate, like or loathe. But the color, it's nice to see olive being used instead of a more emerald finish. This color is very appealing. And sadly, I have to actually go back. Hold on. Okay, these are good. That's quite nice in direct light. It's a great looking piece. And notice the bezel. One of my pet peeves is the green of the Hulk Submariner bezel. That, I don't know, just bugs me how it plays in certain lights. What they've done here, it literally looks like nothing on your side. I'm going to try and zoom in for you to look at. So this is a live picture. You can see it in the direct light. Look how dark that bezel is. I really like that. It's subtle. It's subtle enough. The green is subtle enough that it's not in your face. ETS says if it's 39, I will have a look and check the sizes. Do you prefer this or the version with the big date at around the 4? I much prefer this. I much prefer this. The I think they call it the panorama date, and it sits right here, and it's a giant window. It looks good. Don't get me wrong. It does break up the dial a bit too much for my liking. This harkens back to the more original. So I think it, even size-wise, I think it's also true to form, and it's good to see. It's getting that attention there. Good-looking model. The green, you can either like it or not. I do find for a dive watch, especially in this category, that the green just feels correct. It's a dive watch. You're living in kelp. You're living under that environment. It does have a good feel. Also, surprisingly, no faux style loom. Also a big bonus. I think it does complete the arrangement there. Tippy says it's ironic how they advertise the green CQ as a field watch. You're kidding me, do they? That is funny. Let's have a look at some more images if I can. It's not the easiest page to navigate. Maybe if I go to Google Images, I might find something better for us to just browse. I should have checked the sizes. Apologies. See, this is the model, the panorama date that we were chatting about earlier. Yeah, this is taking it in the next, the next generational development where you have the date at the base. Crown guards, which is something else. So you can see that this new model takes it back, tones it back a little bit. Cool looking piece. I do apologize for the size of these images. That looks so tiny. Unfortunately, I mean, this is the beauty of doing these kinds of presentations, is that you can get these shots up to talk about. But the downside is obviously not many people have been chatting about it, which is a shame. This is well worth looking at. So yeah, it rides this line of dress and sports very nicely. The color works extremely well. Olive drab is a nice, very nice combo. I mean, someone who owns all the black dial Submariners and the other models out there, that Seamaster, think about it this way. You have, how's this for a 3-watch collection? Rolex Submariner no date, the latest one, the 124060. You have a blue dial or a white dial Seamaster Professional 300, and then you have a green dial Glasuta CQ. How nice is that? You have 3 watches that all share the same common language of no faux loom on their dials. They're all very true to their design identities. This one's a bit more retro in styling, but not bad. The panorama date's 43 mils, which isn't good. That's quite big. That is quite big. It's a guy wearing a CQ in a forest biking. Okay, to be, well, that is peculiar. That is very, and yeah, and Thomas says, love the olive. It's nice. It's very nice. Sorry if I'm missing you in the chat. Flat 4, that's another, I mean, I should mention that, very important. You've got a flat 4 on the dial plus an open 6, and just the typeface. I mean, they know what they're doing here. Again, excuse the low res, but that beautiful cursive typeface is so nice. It would make an excellent watch. I wouldn't say it's an only watch. There we go. That's better. Look at that. Oh, I wouldn't say it's an only watch for a collection. This is I wouldn't say supplementary either, but this is a watch that could definitely accommodate a collection. It could complement what you have. And I like this. Funny, we're very close to looking at the new Seamaster 300M, and we can definitely talk about that. Talking about depth rating, you're asking. I do not. 20 bar. 20 bar or so, it's 200 meters. We see how this has been done, where it's vintage inspired, but modern looking forward, you know. The Seamaster that we're going to have a focus on just now is vintage inspired with vintage cues. That feels strange in that sense. Yeah, nice combo. I'm impressed with this, very impressed. I think it's well worth your attention, and you can get an excellent discount on these pieces. Of course, you're dealing with Glashsuta. It's high horology, essentially. They're awesome movements. They have great power reserves. Yeah, great size. Of course, it's a skin diver inspiration. Let's have a look at the prices if I can find it. So 28,800 beat rates, only 40 hours power reserve. Okay, that's surprising. Anything else? Nylon references, 8,800 euros. Pretty good. And remember this, that on a bracelet, you have micro adjust systems. You can actually tailor it to your wrist. So pretty good. Don't buy full retail. No one should ever buy full retail. Don't do it. Okay, moving on to the next. And no movement picks. You're right. That's something else, Piers. I guess they didn't want to share it. It's probably a solid back, so they haven't featured it. But really, as something that epitomizes the skin diver, the quirks of that time with that typeface, it's so recognizable now amongst us as enthusiasts. Who cares for power reserve, really? Exactly. When you're dealing with an automatic watch, Tau, I agree. It's so unnecessary. You're rotating watches all day, every day, right? That's the enthusiast in us. Okay, let's move. Oh, okay, let's move on to one of the big hitters that we can all enjoy. I'll just leave it on the screen for us to look at. I don't even need to talk around this watch, actually. Monochrome. Come on, monochrome. Wow. Wow. It's so nice. It's so nice. And this is why it was featured on the cover photo. It's I'm gonna hit the coffee. So on the right-hand side, we have the original. The left-hand side, we have the modern. Notice how different they look. And if I had that, okay, I actually want to, this is a good segment to focus on. I'm just going to hit the coffee. Blancpain seems very hell-bent on using this modern case shape and style, okay? It's very different. I mean, it's squat, has a bit more presence, where the traditional watches had these gorgeous straight-ended lugs. And what I find peculiar is that they have the capability of reintroducing a watch that looks just like this. If I had to just pull up the Air Command as an example, which surprised me, that was daft. Blancpain getting shoes and all sorts. Notice, I mean, here's a perfect example. There's the Air Command next to the Barracuda, which I know is Thomas Burnett's favorite. Many of us love the Barracuda for its quirks. But you see how the lugs work on the Air Command. That is the original arrangement there. So it begs the question, why would you do a recreation of a watch with a modern template where the original had lugs like this? Could they not do both? That's the question. And the no date, I mean, yeah, we can definitely go talking about that now. There's just so much to address, the balance and again, I have to emphasize, Blancpain had they put up an amazing video about the history of the 50 Fathoms. Check out their YouTube page. Just look up Blancpain. I think it's just Blancpain as a channel should crop up pretty easily. But they discuss the full development of the line, the owner's perspective, not the owner, the CEO at the time who came up with the idea. And you wouldn't believe it, but 50 Fathoms wasn't a name to designate the depth rating of the watch, which I thought it was. 50 Fathoms was just a fun play on words that they found in I think it was a Shakespeare, or it was a mention in a book, a classic Wellian book. I can't remember the back. It was a while ago. But it was essentially just that alliteration that they liked, and they used that alliteration to carry on the model. So yeah, the classic looks beautiful. But now, Phillips auction, come on, it's an Aqualung too. Look at that script. God, it's just so good. Oh, it's so nice. So this is the downside. The Tempest, yes, Jules Verne. That's it, Eric. Thank you. Roar of the Tiger. It was a line in the book of the Tempest where it was something along the lines of 50 Fathoms related. They mentioned it. and they just thought it sounded so good as an alliteration. This of course predates the Submariner by a little while, and what made these watches famous, most of us know, is the patenting and the development and the way they used gaskets on these models. For the first time, the insetting of gaskets around the crowns on the case backs made these so waterproof, watertight. Okay, full Fathom 5 from Shakespeare's Tempest. That's the one. Okay, got it. Thank you. That's awesome. I don't get the no radiation. Do we really think that it would be radioactive? Yeah, okay, we can chat about that. It's a fun quirk. And Megan says it's the watch that everyone's talking about. Yeah. So on the right-hand side, the whole, as I'm going to try and remember this history again. I'd probably have to read the article to, I could just do that. Hey, let's zoom out of this and just check the article quick. It all to do with certifying that there was no more radium on the dials. I think it was aimed at the German, not the German, the American market, if I'm not wrong, because Americans were. It was during that time of radium girls and all that stuff, and people didn't want radiations near any of that. So, just look how beautiful it is. No radiations. 2010 watch, no rad. So basically, the whole idea is that they eliminated radium on their dials, incorporated tritium. That's all you need to know. And you can see the designation here, less than 25. That's the call sign. But it's seldom that you see Aqualung and 50 fathoms as a double print. It's very nice. Oh, it's just beautiful. I love the original so much. Why can't they just recreate it as it is? Oh, this has a date complication. How's that? Didn't notice. Nice. So we get to this new model. Oh, hold on. They did actually introduce this before. Okay, so we see there's a common trend here. There's repetition with these brands bringing out these pieces, but what they've done here is quite nice. The downside, of course, they're very expensive, which I guess is a good thing considering that it's a 100-hour. It's very good complication, very good movement. 100-hour power reserve, if that means anything to anyone. It's essentially high horology. We can call it high horology. The downside is they only made like 500 of them. And it begs the question, if I had the opportunity of choosing a Rolex Submariner or this, guess what I'd be going for? This has just got so much more history to it, and so it bugs me. I think it bugs a lot of people that Blancpain just can't stick to their guns, bring out a 40 mil watch, whether it's the military, whether it's the Barracuda, whether it's this no rads version. There's so many others as well. They could just milk it because everyone wants to see this watch and own it themselves. Everything is just addressed so nicely. Great finishing there, and it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. I'm glad that this is now like the closing point of the show when we're discussing some of these models. The date should be blacked out. I mean, that's another thing. The date window can really be a make or break. Another downside is that it's got this big white ring around it, which draws more attention to it, which is a problem, Not enough, as we all could agree, should have been 5,000. Megan, they should just indefinitely make them. What is the downside? As anyone in manufacturing knows, the more you make, the cheaper the production. So why not just make these permanent? Have a full range. Have the original military, the American military one that looks very simple and streamlined. Have the NORADs, have the Barracuda, those three in a line, next to your Aqualung line and the modern 50 fathoms from the early years. Full Fathom 5, thy father lies, Shakespeare. That's exactly it, Dan. Thank you. That is the exact quote. That's where they were chatting about this and decided that 50 fathoms would make a good name. All to do with alliteration. It worked. Hell, it worked well. Oh, look at that. That's so cool. It is so cool. It's so frustrating. It's I think of all the releases, it's for me the most frustrating watch out there. They're pulling on your heartstrings, knowing that no one's going to be getting them. I don't understand it. I really don't. If I had the opportunity of speaking to the CEO, I'd say, "Man, what are you doing? This is a foolproof idea. Anyone in the space, whether you are an enthusiast for a completely different manufacturer." This just does it. And the best part of all is that the no radiations as a quirk, it's such a good talking point. The beautiful thing about these reissues, these recreations, is that when you get them and you start studying, you obviously start studying up about the history. And, you know, with a lot of people who just buy a watch for the sake of it being a watch, they don't know, I mean, in our space, who aren't necessarily enthusiasts, they just bought it because it looked good. They don't know that this has a certain function. They don't know where it originated. For someone who has no radiations on the dial, they would have a look back in the archives and think, okay, what is this about? I've never understood why this is featured. And any passing conversation, someone will notice that and say, what is that on the dial? And then you can say, well, it was in a time when radium was phased out for tritium. And even though this uses superluminova and it's completely irrelevant, it's a fun quirk, you know. Take the current 50 fathoms, remove the name on the side of the case, shrink it to 41, 42, done. Another good point. I kind of like it in a way, but it also, sorry, just I've got my hand resting on my chin. I probably spiked the mic. I like it, but also in a way it's a bit tacked on. It feels like a signet to it. Look at that size. It's so good. And it's a flat matte dial too. It's not gloss. It feels very military focused and inspired. So it raises a few questions. We all want to see this watch mainstream and introduced. That's another thing, BDev, the Invicta 1953. That's a great model. Really, really great model. And the Kampfschwimmer from Les, that's something we could pull up. FF, that's so good, Hans. I like that. I really like it. So, yeah, the points to raise, basically. They have the opportunity of recreating the original. I think they have to be. They've got lots of photos here. They could bring out the original case and have a smashing home run with these pieces, but they also could make these in mass for everyone, and they would sell. So I don't know what the wait is for. Why are they waiting on this? You don't notice the side blancpain when you're wearing one. Now that's the thing, Dan. If it's on your left wrist, it's something you can admire, I guess. On the right wrist, you would never see it, which I dig. I kind of dig. Yeah. Why are these guys fisting the watches? I know. I mean, that's something that's big on Instagram. They've got the fist shot. That's an example there. Oh, what a cool machine. I love these macro photos too. Oops. I just clicked out of it. Anyway, stunning piece. One of the most interesting releases. I just wish it was popular and you know, mainstream. If any watch deserves to be mainstream, this one does. I mean, it's just a piece of history. Real classic. Right, moving on to slide 32. Oh, Blue Shirt has just joined us, and we have just arrived at the Doxa 300 forged. I'm just going to call it forged carbon. I should get it as a sample. Hodinkee, what's the best article? Hodinkee Worn and Wound. Let's look at Worn and Wound. They have some great photos. So the Doxa Sub 300 carbon. This one really came out of left field. Let's open these images up. Hopefully, can we slide through? No, it's not as organic to flick through some of these images. So I think a lot of people are going to like this. Best, or yes, Eric, yes, times 1,000. The best offset logo arrangement by far. I'm not so much of a fan of having to flick out of each image. Hold on, let's go to maybe Hodinkee will be a bit, or let's look at blog to watch. This piece does deserve some love and attention. Hopefully we have some good shots to enjoy. Come on. No, are you also going to give me the full treatment? Okay, I can scroll through. Oh, right. Forged carbon. Essentially, it's used because it's a lighter weight material. It's strong. I wouldn't say it's as strong as ceramic in tandem, but it's very light, lighter than titanium. And what they've done here, I mean, the reason why I chose this one on the left, for obvious reasons, look at it. It's so beautiful. Black on black finish, yellow accents and highlights. It's good to see the swirling. And I mean, what I enjoy is, in this case, it's taking the concept of a reissue watch, in quotations, reissue watch, but pushing it forward. We've been chatting, I mean, this has been a good exercise. We've been chatting about the Panerais and where Panerai could go with their technology. Here is a watch that's embracing its original aesthetic from the 70s, basically. Don't you love the aqua lung at the base here too? It's so nice. Jeez. They're embracing all of that stuff and then just pushing it forward with the materials. And that's all they need. Speaking of your love for Tiffany dials, here is one. Printing on the dial is sublime. Such good balance. Asymmetrical balance that just sings. Okay, missing you in the chat. Let's get back in. I see Blue Shirt saying Doxa Nation. Yep, it's really nice. Megan says Dad is keen to get one of these carbons. Yes. The The colors, I mean, there's so many. I hope they give us some more examples. And Aquastar, Tippy, the most important person in Doxa, moved to Aquastar. Doxa screwed up a bit after she left. That's surprising. Aquastar, they are doing some good stuff. I want to look at those watches. Love to get one into review, actually. Talk about a quirky diving chrono. Forbin says, I believe that these so-called carbon cases are plastic made with carbon fibers. Really? I don't know. I haven't read up on these articles. I have to emphasize. A lot of the time, I am pretty much just flying by the seat of my pants, looking at everything with you. It says titanium caseback. Okay, 300 carbon, patented bezel. I don't know why the page glitches at certain points. Anyway, I hope it's all right to look at. The downside to forged carbon is, yeah, like a Lamborghini Huracan. I mean, that's something. The downside to forged carbon cases is they only have one finish to them. You can't add anything else to them much. So you can either appreciate the finish, which kind of resembles what's that steel? Damascus steel in a way, or it's a little bit jarring. It's a little bit too consistent. Nice swirling though. I do appreciate the feature. So the question is, what do we prefer? Do we prefer the yellow accents? Do we prefer the orange? If it was me, I've always just had this click in the back of my head that says Doxa deserves yellow. It's the Aqualung. It's the Aqualung logo. Oh, Thomas, goodness, thank you so much. It's been such a good time, and for the chair fund. Yeah, thank you, Thomas. Really, you've been such a gent. The fact that everyone has been able to sit and listen to me prattle on. We've still got some more going. We've got 7 more to chat about. We've just passed 3 hours. I can't freaking believe it. I didn't expect it to go this long. No. Touristus says the word doxa in Greek means glory. Thank you for that, Touristus. Cousteau got the helium valve idea from USNC lab results with Rolex and rushed it into production with the Conquistador. Eric is a wealth of knowledge with divers. And they break. Yeah. So Tippy says the downside of carbon is they break like eraser. They do chip badly. I agree. Oh my goodness, this is insane. I've lost track of time. I had no idea that I've been chatting for 3 hours. Good thing we're kind of getting to the end now, right? It's good. Doxa, hold on. Oh no, I think I've just broken that slide. Oh, look at that. Doxa experts in the house. I love it. I'll tell you what, Eric, if you want any advice on dive watches, ask Eric. Look how cool that is. So fun. It's a super professional watch. This is what I dig. Super professional watch that also has a bit of whimsy to it, a bit of a fun side. When we look at them side by side here, we have black on black, yellow on yellow, just how much diversity they have amongst each other. Yeah, sneak peek. We're going to have a look at some APs in a second, which I'm going to enjoy. And then we're going to go to the Seamasters and stuff. I am truly dull. No, you're not, Eric. You're a legend. Eric is actually a wealth of knowledge on all things. It's insane. The one-liners he drops, well worth paying attention to. Hans saying, can you imagine me and Penny? Yeah, all in our movements. We would be chatting for days. So there's the lineup. I mean, look at it. It's nuts. Did I get this wrong? Maybe I'm guessing this is the Aqualung Special Edition. This is one of my favorites. I think that hour hand. The minute hand looks so good. Yeah, Doxa's doing a good job. This forged carbon speaks to what we would like to see in the space of concept, prototype development, experimenting with materials, and Blue Shirt, I'm not done with that design work. I'm going to do more of it. I've been slacking a lot lately, so I'm going to pull up a whole load. You can use that original one. You can use the one that I sent, but I want to do a lot more and go further into your logo, because it's very half-assed at the moment. But thank you so much, Thomas and Blue Shirt. Thank you so much for the super chats. And Dear Artifact says, here we go. Dear Artifact is a legend, by the way. Get him on Instagram. Follow him on Instagram. You will not be sorry. I'm so happy to hear you speak to the foolishness that the 50 fathoms no rad is limited. All the watches in that military category. I don't understand it. I really don't. Blancpain has an opportunity to capture a large part of the dive watch buying market with this one. Yeah, and just like the Tudor Ranger, right? Wouldn't it be nice to see a Tudor Ranger? That would bring people in from all areas of this hobby. Jean-Claude Diva says only 3 hours. I cannot believe we've been going for 3 hours. Honestly, this has felt like 2. I've lost track of time. Should I carry on? Let's move next. Awesome pieces. Have a look at Doxa. Father Art. Is Durox? Yes, he is related to Father Artifact. I don't know if he's in the chat. Is he with us? I've missed you all. That's a pleasure. And Jean-Claude Beaver, great having you here. Saw you earlier. Right on. We're moving next to the Royal Oak Offshore Diver. I'm just going to say 2021. Now, what is nice about this watch? We all have a soft spot for the Offshore Diver, I think. It's a... what I'm enjoying the most about this actually is that they're digging back. I mean, these are not cheap, by the way. They're hellishly expensive. I had a look at the prices. Our resident photographer, yes, he turns pictures into art. Megan, yeah, I agree. Seriously, dear Artifact, I'll put his handle in the chat. Dear Artifact, hope I get it right. No, the whiskey has definitely done his trick tonight. Dear Artifact, get on Instagram, follow his handle. His stuff is amazing. He has the best photography in this space. It's so good. What I'm really liking about this watch and what comes to mind is the way the dial has been done. This is so true to the original AP offshores from the 90s, you know, the very first models. They're digging back into that history there. It's so clean and simple. Of course, I love the olive drab. You see that there's a consistent theme throughout the show. I find it funny. We've had a look at like 3 or 4 olive drab models. But I just like the relative simplicity to how the dial's been done. One thing that I'm a bit divided on is the texture, is the, what do you call it, tapisserie? No? Tapisserie dial? It's a bit heavy for the simplicity of what the dial is. They could have made it a bit lighter in weight, you know. Heard it comes with a ratchet sock to wind it up, BDev. We're talking about this. Look, didn't even notice. Check the gasket. It's that kind of stuff that's so good. You've got to enjoy those little quirks. So the gasket normally is black, but pairing with the strap, very nice. Quick release, very cool. Quick release straps. I mean, we're seeing some consistency here amongst the brands, no? We were chatting about that with the Seamaster Professional America's Cup. Clear case back so you can see the movement. I don't think they had this in the original models. This was a solid back before. 42 mils is an excellent size. Yeah, it's like the Grenade Mark II, Mark. I agree. Grenade Mark II, get it? The gray finish is quite nice. I still think the green is the one that speaks to me the best. There's also a blue one, which we will look at. And your Artifact. So kind, my pleasure. One of the best proponents. Thank you, dear Artifact, really. I know you need to send me more emails because I'm sure you've been DMing me on Instagram and I don't look at Instagram DMs to anyone out there. I think I've got over 50 unreads. I can't do it. It scares me to think that I've got 50 messages to look at. That's just too much. So, and Russell says not a fan. Okay. I know he's never really been a big fan of AP Royal Oaks, but he has the Nautiluses and it's divisive. One element that keeps dividing me is the texture of the dial. I don't know if it works as well as it could. But the blue model, I mean, this is very good. I think this works better. Blue model with this texture does look good. So nice pairing, nice collection of models in this zone. And we're getting close to the end. We have 5 watches left, I think, and we're going to be chatting about Omega. I'm trying to think what else. There's a couple more good things. I prefer the regular Royal Oak. Yeah, I mean, that's another thing. The diver is definitely not for everyone, for all. But, very interesting point saying, I think the Breguet René didn't, I'm sorry, I can't say that out loud. It's been 3 hours. I'll definitely watch that badly. That second hand is far from a gimmick, aesthetically pleasing. Breguet, when it comes to linked to the Marine line and those pieces, I do admire them so much. They have really pushed their aesthetic. I enjoy them. I'd love to chat more about the Breguet Marine in future too, as a line of watches. Most of them will be inviting you to invest in Bitcoin and become a millionaire. Yeah, I agree. Awesome though. So nice looking piece. I'm enjoying. So you see, it seems like they are also enjoying the contrast of the olive drab on the finish. And Giza is back joining us. Good to have you here, Giza. We are still going strong. We're going to be finishing up in about 20 minutes or so. Awesome looking movement. Yeah, not bad. Gotta say, it's divisive. It's not one for everyone, for sure. It's polarizing. There are elements to it. They've done some funky things, like you have a Cyclops lens on the dial, which is a bit strange, and other little factors. But you know what? Good to see them bringing some life into the line a bit. Okay, moving on to number 34. Oh my. Right. This is the one that I really wanted to talk about. Royal Oak Offshore. Oh, geez. I'm just going to say offshore 43mm tourbillon chronograph. I don't know. There's probably a couple of them out there, or this is the only one, who knows. Of course, Hype Beast covers this because it's what all the interest is. Monochrome. The downside is I don't think there are any hands-on shots with this piece. This was, ooh, hold on. Is this also new? I think it is. 16 seconds ago, they posted this. What? Okay, that's good. So we're kind of on top of things. I haven't seen this before. Hold on. What a movement. Oh my goodness. This is what you get to appreciate. That is amazing. So again, we're getting renders, which I'm not too much of a fan of. I'd like to see some real stuff. Hold on. Let's go back. I think they call this the skeleton to be. Hold on a sec. Offshore March 20, and that sounds about right, 43mm. They brought out a whole new range of pieces, not just one. So this is taking long to load. Oh dear. Hold on. Australia. It's taking a while to load into Australia, ladies and gentlemen. What do we have? Why are we just... Come on. Sorry. This is the watch that I want to look at, but I'm not getting it. I think it's best if I go to images. And do we have to look at Hype Beast? I guess we do. Hey? Time and Tide normally covers the stuff pretty well. Let's see there. There we go. That's better. Okay. It's such a crazy looking watch. I think the balance is just what makes it sing to me personally. It's too much. It's so excessive for what it is. They've only made 100 of them, I think. It's a tourbillon. It's a chronograph. It's skeletonized. It's so nicely balanced for what it is there. Right, and everyone's chatting about water and diving, and I don't know what's going on in the chat, so I'm just going to carry on. Reviewing it in real time. Yes, Justin, I sure am. This is real time, sitting at the edge. So, self-winding, titanium, 43mm. It's probably one of the most advanced offshores they've ever made, which I think is pretty exciting. And it's just what I just enjoy. You can see it's that symmetry on the dial that I really like. The balancing between everything. Unfortunately, I don't think there are any hands-on shots. It's all renders because there's so few of them. Hitting the coffee. And it goes very deep. There's titanium cores and there's this and that. Look how the vents have been evacuated on all three corners. Yeah, it's just exciting. Talk about prototype and development. And if anyone who wants to know, it's a 3 hertz, 21,600 vibrations, 22 karat gold oscillating weight that has been coated with PVD. Well, why would you do that? Seriously? Why would you do that? 65-hour power reserve. Oh, it looks great. Really is. 1 of 100 pieces. Yep, really nice. And I see BDev saying an idea for a future live stream, underappreciated watch brands. Call it watches of a lesser god. Yeah, we could. I mean, hell, we could. This format seems pretty fun. The watch report arrangement could be something that we use to discuss a topic, one topic, maybe over the course of an hour or whatever there. Yeah, so... Yeah, I mean, Dad's got your name down for this watch, right, Megan? Yeah, it deserves it. It deserves a lot of love. Also, it doesn't have all the funky quirks that we saw with the Baracellos and the... Who else? All those models of the offshore line that had funky-looking pushers and crowns that looked like gun barrels and stuff. This is very restrained, wouldn't you say? It's nice. Nice-looking example. Chatted about this enough. As far as presentation goes, this is... fascinating from a design, concept, prototype development point of view. Very interesting. Okay, moving on to number 35. I can't remember doing this. Should we look at this? Okay, I think we're going to be spending some time now looking at a few Omegas. Where are we? So it's the DeVille Tresor Power Reserve. Okay, let's have a look. This is quite a different line of watches. Actually, the first time we've had a look at a dress piece. And it's got the power reserve, so it's double up. Anything on monochrome? Yes, hands-on. That's what we like to see. Ooh, that's gorgeous. Okay, moving in a bit of a different direction. We've got an MB&F, and then we're jumping to the Seamaster and the professionals and all those examples, and then we can call it a show. It's been pretty good. So what can we say about this watch? It does definitely call back to chronometers of the 50s and 60s. Nicely laid out. Yeah, and Megan's saying new channel. That's exciting. That is very, very exciting. I'm looking forward to that very much. If you need any help or advice, you know who to call. So on the wrist, love the presence. I think it's a 41 mil case-ish. Love the chronometer style. I mean, it's true, very classic, you know. Power reserve, it's always appreciated, especially on a dress-styled watch. This definitely sings. The power reserve is at the top of the dial if you can't see it. Running seconds at the base. Double batons. Seldom that you see the Omega logo on the right-hand side. That's a pretty nice take. And just overall, it's classic. Question is, would you be picking this up over a Lunga Saxonia thin? First interview on vintage watches. I think I'd be interviewing you. I'm so bad when it comes to this stuff. I just, guess. It's a guessing game until you get something right. It's like a lottery. Right, hitting the whiskey again. So the arrangement's good. I like the balance. Is the Omega logo a bit too heavy on the right-hand side? That's the question. Looks a little bit bold. Does look a little bit bold there, but it is, as Justin says, classy as hell. Yes, it is. I'm just thinking maybe if it was any critique, take the boldness out of the logo. Make it thinner, I think, in script to match the coaxial arrangement there. But it's really elegant, I've got to say. The movements, oh, geez, look at that. That is nice. I mean, look how nicely balanced that is. It's seldom that you see so much symmetry to a base caliber like this. Hand wound, 30 joules, twin barrel, coaxial, 8. The reference is the 8935 if anyone wants to know. Omega and their movements, they are charming. BDev asking for price. I'm guessing something like 20 grand. This is going to be good. Let's have a look. 72-hour power reserve, 25 beat rate. Oh, 17.4 Swiss francs. So what is that in dollars? Someone might have to do the calculation. Pretty good. Pretty good. I'm impressed. It's one thing about a dress watch. I've mentioned this before. Oops, hit the mic. Sorry. Let's try and get that a better range. So one thing I mentioned before about dress watches is it's nice to see space allocation done correctly. And you want to see some complexity to a dial. You don't need it to be so sparse. This is good. This is really good. It's restrained. It's toned down, nicely balanced. It's an awesome movement. 70, yeah, it's quite a lot of money. Fairly close in value. Yeah. Apparently it costs nope, Justin said. But I mean, Ming says a Longines at the end of the day. A Longines, get a Saxonia thin easily for that money. And you get into the high horology. As most of us probably here would, Russell especially would attest. Stunning. Really nice example. Now we've got quite a different departure. Are you ready for this? We're looking at last before we go into the next Omega category. Maybe I should have avoided this, but it's the MB&F, and I think it's the 10-year legacy machine. Legacy 10-year. I'm going to try and get this right eventually. Is it called the Legacy? I don't even. You see what I mean? This is what happens when you get so invested and you can't even take the time to read the notebook. 10-year anniversary. It's the so not legacy. It's called the LMX. Right. And 10-year. Come on, give me something. March 2021. Monochrome has it hands-on. Now these are just insanely just. I know Waco did an interview with Max Buser. I think it was a recent live stream that he did actually, discussing this watch 10-year anniversary, and it's so easily identifiable. We've had a look at other crazy, bizarre monsters on the show. It's so, there's the original. How's that? So easy to determine how it's arranged, and very quirky with the double, the double bridge and the balance, and it's so bizarre. It looks like a face. It's definitely not for everyone. It does look like an alien from another planet, but underachieving HYT rip. Yep, they went bust. Cool watch though, gotta say. Alice in Wonderland. He says, yeah, that's you hit it on the head. This looks like what's the name of that cat again? I don't know. it's getting too late for me to riff off names. But he did discuss this watch at length and what it means, and I find it pretty incredible. I don't even fully understand. So it's a twin time, basically. You can set it to any. It's two watches in one, and you've got it's all enamel painted, and it's so much texture and detail on the dial. Oof, it's intense. This is high horology to the nth degree. The downside, I guess, it's a big feature to this watch is that domed crystal. You either love it or hate it on the wrist. And then they've done collaborations with Moser and everything too. They're doing so good. These watches are just a cut above and super next level in this category. Who is this by kind? It's MB&F. MB&F, and the reference is the Legacy Machine X, the LMX, celebrating its 10th anniversary. Grumpy Cat, yeah, what's it called? The Cheshire Cat. I can't remember. Van Gogh Sunflowers. Yeah, I mean, I love that teal dial. Looks so good, but it does look like it's staring at you. It reminds me of those beetles in nature that have printing on their backs that remind you of eyes, similar to butterflies and that. This seems inspired by nature, where the animal has that defense mechanism to ward off predators when their backs are turned. This kind of has that effect on you. Oof, it's a crazy looking machine. It's definitely a machine. And look at the finishing, and it's just next level. It's above and beyond next level. Dome crystal is amazing. And I would love, as a spoof, I would love Moser to team up with MB&F again and have a spoof watch linked to, like a snow globe. Wouldn't that be nice? Snow globe based dial and case. It's like wearing a globe of a watch. Yep. Old raggy. Thanks for that, Hans. Carpet beetles. Yep, that's it. You guys are being so helpful. Thank you. The whiskey is obviously working for all of you. It's good. Cheshire Cat. Yeah, I don't even. Is that what they call it? I can't even remember. I just remember it was purple. Look at that. The photography is just amazing. I can't get over it. Monochrome. Hats off to Monochrome for getting this done and out for us. Look at that arrangement. So once we move away from the Hort stuff, we will. You see what I mean about the face? It reminds you. I mean, this does remind you of Alice in Wonderland, beetle defense mechanisms. What's going on with all these fist shots? It's a very masculine thing. I have no idea, Megan. I really don't know. Ooh, look at that. What an amazing, I mean, for any watchmaker to not only have a definitive approach, something that's very defined by, you've what am I saying? You've created your own language that everyone now understands and can easily recognize. But then to go even further when it comes to the watchmaking, not just the external aesthetics, but the watchmaking, getting a caliber like this to work, all centralized, all nicely balanced. You can see that these are quite literally two movements. I mean, that trigger is all linked to the crown on either side. Oh, it's great. It's really great. So we chatted about this. Very symmetrical. I mean, it's almost too symmetrical, right? But also nice seeing that three-dimensionality, similar to Grubel 40, the three-dimensional effect there. Should I look at prices? Let's do it. Why not? So technically it's a travel time because you can have two different time zones covered. 44 mils, 3D architecture, floating balance wheel, inertia blocks. It's very deep. There's lots going on. Of course, the floating balance wheel is like the definitive element to this watch. Independent time zones, crown at 2 o'clock. Yeah. Rotating power reserve indicator. I like that. That's going on at the back here, I'm guessing, at the back of the watch. Over here at the top, I'll just spin the mouse. And get to the price event. Jeez, this is as bad as Russell's Tellurium we were chatting about. There's so much to it. Thunderdome, and now we're getting to Mad Max going on here. Availability and price. Okay, 128K US, not bad, excluding taxes. Red gold, so 18 pieces in red gold, 33 in grand titanium. It's a limited edition. It's special. It's an anniversary piece. Beautiful example. Okay, we are going to jump to the final two watches of the show. And Megan says, I don't like them at all. Oh, hold on a sec. Oh, the fist shots. Yeah, let's stay with wrist shots. The watch is designed not on the wrist. Yeah, true. Better back to front. Stunning. Nice arrangement. Forbin says, let me get a better image up for you. Hold on a sec. That's better. Come on, full screen. Leave something on the screen for you to look at while I address the comments, and then we can jump to the big Omega releases from late. I don't know what I'm saying. I want to make MB&F really tacky and have a snow globe too. Wouldn't it be fun? I mean, that would be so good. You could do such a nice job adding a snow globe dial. You know, snowflake it up, and you know, it'd be similar to the spoof watch, but you know, all good. Okay, so next up. Okay, let's have a look at these new Seamasters. Let's have a chat. Seamaster 300M 2021. So about a week before the releases, I did a video discussing wrong watch. Oh, come on, the Seamaster Diver. You know, first look at the 2020 watch, and that's pretty good. Should we look at Time and Tide? Come on. If they're only renders, I'm going to be so bummed. Come on, please. Some hands-on time. Revolution watch. Oh, sorry, forgive me. There's so many articles. Rob Report. Maybe that'll be better. Nope. Come on, hands-on. Anyone. Bueller. Nothing. This bugs me. Hey, look. Got some reviews. That's Bark and Jack. Got Design Atelier. I'm at the top looking at that. That's great. That's nice to see. Okay, let's look at images. Anything. I have to be more specific then, obviously. Seamaster 300M. What are they going to call it? Bronze, right? Apologies for the delay, ladies and gentlemen. Having a few technical difficulties. Thank you, Monochrome. Right. Megan, we're seeing a very consistent thing going on here. It's wrong. Okay, so what can we say about this watch? So what did I say? A week ago, I did a week before the releases. Bend over, Hans, exactly. You got it just right. Just Seamaster 300. Thanks, Justin. Okay, I missed you all in the chat. Let me jump back in and say hi. I don't know what's been going on. Making it tacky. Okay, good. So I think the bronze looks awesome. I think they're doing a great job here. But this new piece, we've been chatting about the whole idea of reissues and the concept of taking reissues further. Now, my review video, I try to discuss the full history of this watch from the original, which I love, to the modern 300M. I think they just call it the 300, to this current line. And I didn't know they brought it out in blue. That was a nice change of pace. And there was leaked documents, of course. This should have been brought out last year. So we notice a few traits. The numerals on the dial, similar to Panerai. We've got a sandwich dial, which is what we have seen quite consistently through the 300M development. The blue bezel is very nice. The actual blue color is very toned down, which is good. The lollipop hand, I do like. One has lollipop seconds. Yeah, they all do. This is the theme. So, I didn't notice. Why didn't they include it on this model? That's strange. Lollipop seconds hand, I really like. It's not, look, we're talking about consistency and congruence between parts on the watch. Sharpness everywhere. You want a sharp seconds hand. I fully agree. I'm looking at the left-hand side of the screen and my mouse isn't getting big. Here we go. Get big, mouse. So we have consistency here with the way the sharpness has been addressed. The dividing thing is this rounded part to the lollipop hand, but I think it's a nice quirk. It's a good callback to the original, the CK2913-5s, and it's just a great character trait. Let's get to that fist shot and have a look. Now, this isn't the bronze. This is the standard steel model with the sandwich dial arrangement, and you get a good look at what this watch represents. And yeah, in this format, this watch I think looks better on leather. I think it speaks more true. We'll definitely chat about the reverse Reese's Peanut Butter Cup crown. They let the watch down again with the bracelet. Megan, what's good is they actually do have a micro adjust system. It's the exact same clasp to mine, to the 57. It's one of the best. Hopefully they feature an image of it here so we can have a look. It's one of the best clasps they've ever done, I think. It's small in size, easy to adjust. We'll get to it in a moment. So this is what I'm divided on looking at this watch in this format here. They're trying to modernize this piece, right? Move it into the next generation. And one way we can tell this is the way they've put this crown on the watch. This crown is actually very representative of their new line of Aquaterras that they brought out. This convex, I'm going to go with concave crown, which does look kind of old school, but also is more linked to their modern line of pieces. And then we jump to the arrangement of the dial. Yeah, I must say I prefer this watch on the leather. I agree. It just feels more true to form with the numerals. And this is the thing, the numeral arrangement on this dial. Ooh, I didn't know I could do that. Numeral arrangement on this dial is either a love it or hate it. You have a very old school aesthetic, and it's something that, you know, if people don't want that, it's going to drive them away from the watch even more. Yes, Justin, it's an aluminium alloy as far as I know. It's not ceramic. So they have this aim to make a watch that is going to age over time, similar to the what's it, the James Bond No Time to Die titanium amalgamation. Turbo T2, better late than never. Welcome to the show. We've been running for 3.5 hours. I cannot believe it. This has gone so fast. You know, I could probably sit and talk about anything and it would work out. It's so weird, man. It's so weird. I don't get it. I don't get how my brain works. The shark teeth cutout markers are really nice. They are, Brent. They really are. And they're very different to the original, actually. They're more rounded. They're not as sharp. The originals were very, very sharp. These are scalloped. I mean, this looks exactly like a shark's tooth. So there's some good things to celebrate. If it was me given this option again, I wouldn't have the sandwich numerals. It's a nice feat. Uh-oh. I was close. I almost lost it. It's a nice feature to have. Fisherman's friends to the rescue. That was close. It's a nice feature to have, but it's polarizing. Way too polarizing. But they also did something great here. They've gotten rid of all that subliminal text on the dial and just kept it. Seamaster 300. That's all you need to know. Nice looking piece. Let's get to another shot. Ooh. So you see what? So basically, to sum up the article, I love their reissues. I believe their reissue category should be a thing on its own. Deserves to be its own thing. But the way they are trying to blend the reissue with the modern stuff and clashing them together. Of course, we know that this line is here to celebrate the original 57 reissue and all those models, that development, the older style. They do have the professionals, which we're going to get to in a sec. But it's an interesting way of addressing I'll put it that way. Interesting way of addressing your models that harken back to those reissues while still trying to make them modern while writing the line. Blue Shirt says he loves the blue. It's a very nice color. I'll give you that. Superb color. Also notice the bezel's not reflective and shiny and in your face. That is so nice. So easy to look at. It's aluminum, as they say. Yeah. I don't know what's going on in the chat. And Russell says, did I miss the Commando being featured? We haven't featured a Commando during the show. Nope. This has just been 40 plus watches in succession. All the new releases of the year so far. So yes, it being applied or painted than a sandwich, but it's nice to look at anyway forward. Yeah, I mean, if it was me, I would keep the batons suppressed, depressed. I like the whole sandwich arrangement there, but the actual numerals should follow along with the type on the dial, and it would look good. Also, the Panerai feel to them, I don't know if it works. That's going to be open to debate for a very long time. Is it the Seamaster anniversary? Samurai, no, it's not. It's just a revamp of the original. Oh, monochrome. Monochrome knows what they're doing with their shots. It's just the next stage forward. The last one they brought out was in 2015. And then between then, they brought out the 57 reissue. And this is the further step forward. It's such a good looking watch in the flesh. You see how different they look from render to real life. How much more appealing they look in that real scenario. I think it works, Tippy. Yeah, in this setting, it does look very good. Also enjoy that they've tapered the bracelet a bit. It articulates, which is just fantastic. The articulating bracelet is one of the best selling points of the Seamaster 300. So comfortable, fits so many wrists. The lug-to-lug length, I would say, is about 48, 49. It's quite big. The watch measures 41 mils, I think. I'll have to double check. Missing you all in the chats, as always. Let's see what's going on. It is a loomed bezel. Yes, it is ETS. I'm sure we'll get some shots. There we go. This is what we need to be happy to see. I'll go out there and say that this is the best clasp that Omega has ever made. First debuted on the 57 model bracelets. On the Railmaster, Speedmaster, and the Seamaster. What makes it so good? It's small in size. It has 2 micro adjust positions, and it's just, I would call it perfect actually for what it is. You notice how much space it takes up. It's tiny, and it just feels so correct. This is what they should have on all of their pieces. The Speedmaster Professional should have gotten this. I do not understand why they didn't incorporate it in, because it is brilliant. As an owner of the original, I've worn it for a full year at this point, and it's so comfortable. Just a tiny micro adjust system, no screws, nothing to worry about, no adjustments needed, just a push button. I would say, I've also dealt with the glide lock bracelets from Rolex, and superbly built, but they are very long, similar to the professional models, very long, and they can be kind of unnecessary, especially on the professional 300s, a bit over bloated. Yeah, the glide lock, when it comes to build quality, I agree, it is better. But I do like the push adjust. Funny, when you're wanting to adjust on the fly, this is faster. Because you only have 2 positions to move it to, where the glide lock, you have to take it off. You have to kind of fiddle with it to detach it. You know what I mean? Still, one of the best clasp I think Omega has ever made. It's good to see it on this piece. And then you have a clear case back, so appreciate the beautiful movement. Megan says, my OCD is out of control. The bezel isn't lined up. Oh, let's have a look. I got to torture her a little bit. Oh, no. That is shocking. Look at that. How can you do? I mean, it's 120 clicks. Oh no. What does that mean? That is when you start thinking, you start getting a bit suspicious. Let's get back to it. That's when you can start getting suspicious, when no bezels line up. Does that mean that these, maybe these were dummy models? Did these dummy models have a bit of an issue with lining up? That's funny, hey? So, length is a tad long. That's a brilliant statement, Hans. Length is a tad long. Anyone who's new, who doesn't know what's going on, that makes a lot of sense. Talking about the lug to lug, it's about 48, 49. But the beauty is that articulating bracelet, that end link, female end link. 120 clicks means the bezel has 120 positions. You know what? We are being very on the nose tonight. I like it. Oh, it's a cool looking watch though. I do appreciate it. They're doing a good job. Why can't they make curved links version? Oh, this is something else. They have actually downturned the lugs on this model, I think. I do believe. Neferion says that the Rolex clasps are way too long. Yeah, I would agree. I love the size of the GMT2 and the Explorer 2 clasps. I think those are really appropriate in the modern line. Actually, you know what? The Explorer clasp was perfect. Absolutely perfect. If they had a micro adjust system in there, simple on the fly, not the easy link, what do they call it, the easy link extension, if they had a simple micro adjust in the same vein, the best class by far. Finding the subs are being a bit too hectic. Yeah, we can talk about that at a later stage, but really cool. This one is the piece that stole the show for me. This is a bit more lined up, Megan. I think that's also off. I don't know what's going on. Ooh, this is good. Okay. Can't unsee the bezel position. I know. It's the worst thing. It really is the worst thing. Looks like Jared is leaving us. I saw something in the chat. It's a pleasure having you here. Thank you for joining. Okay. Gonna carry on. We're getting close to the end of the show. Just this watch and one more, and then we're done. 3 hours, 40 minutes. Good God. What is wrong with this guy? The whole, what I'm loving, what Omega does, one of the best in the industry, I think, is the metallurgy. I'm not going to say it right, but the experimentation with materials, they seem to nail all the time. So I like how they're mixing this alloy up. They've got palladium, they've got all these features on top of bronze and rose gold. It's technically a 9-karat gold watch because it's 375, I think, as the number. I think it looks brilliant. Honestly, I would go out and buy one of these pieces, given the chance. And the bronze case in this format, I'm very against bronze on watches. I think in this setting, with that gold feature on top of it, it's going to age a little bit differently. So it's fascinating. It is a very interesting combination. Plus, on the leather strap, with the way the dial has been done, it just feels appropriate. It does feel correct to the line. There it is on the wrist. I think it's also the color. You know what? It's the color of the case and how it matches the loom on the dial too. It's not much more gold. Let's have a look at the comments. Sorry, BDF saying 60 minutes only needs 60 clicks. Why 120 clicks? I know. It doesn't make much sense. It's not necessary. It really isn't necessary. I've dealt with 60 click bezels before, and they just work just as fine. I guess the issue is the reason why they have 120 clicks is because the hand, as we might be able to see, just for Megan's OCD, I hope you enjoy this. As we can see, the hand is not exactly on the minute mark. So if you're in between minutes, you can line up. The 120 allows you to line up the bezel on that point. If you want to be so specific, which allows you to then, be in between minutes if you're wanting to time something. It's very unnecessary, let's be honest. It's a good looking model though. This one to me, I wanted this to actually be on the cover for the show. Decided against it in the end. Missing you in the chat. Megan saying, I do like the bronze case with the copper. It does look good. It does look very good. Omega 165024 remake, do it now. Dan, I'm doing a video all about that actually. Collaboration with Chrono24, writing a video all about that watch, and I'm going to word it towards Omega, and hopefully they will see it. Deserves it. Tudor uses 60 clicks. They do. 120 bezel has better action. Okay. Nice looking piece. This arrangement especially, look at that. So I was right, 375, meaning that it's 9 carat essentially. Not for sale. Good to know. And then you have your hallmarks at the base there. Cool looking piece. So we've chatted about this watch long enough. It definitely matters if you're really using it to time air in your tank. I mean, that's it, huh? You want to be specific. You really do want to be specific. That's something else. We've got steel threads. Good thing. Good to enjoy some steel threads to be sure that you're not going to be damaging anything along the way. Oh, it's nice. Right. Moving on to the last watch of the show. Coming up to the freaking 4-hour mark. What is wrong with this dude? And that is and I love the name of this watch. It's called the Seamaster Black. Yeah. Now, I'm not kidding. When this watch launched, should we look at monochrome? Let's have a look. When this watch launched, I immediately jumped on, and I said subconsciously, black. Funny enough, that is the name. And I thought, it's pretty good. It's pretty on the nose, explained. The Mafia black watch. Yeah, I mean, I'm really drawn to this piece. I don't know why. I think in a way what it does is it just masks a lot of features that I'm not so much of a fan of with this piece and just gets right to the point. Another fist shot for Megan. I hope she enjoys. Oh, and the bonuses that the bezel does line up here. That's nice. You know what? When I saw these original launch photos, I've been looking at this watch a lot. Look at the strap. Look at the case. Don't you feel like this watch is made from charcoal? That's something that just comes to mind when I see it. A charcoal-inspired model. It looks like it was forged out of that material. Unreadable? It is. Absolutely unreadable. It's just doesn't make any sense for a dive watch. It's the most illegible dive watch out there. But what I enjoy is that idea of almost telling time with texture. It's something that's frozen in time, and it's the sculptural form. And no date. That's something I didn't notice that. No date complication. We chatted about the whole bezel that's like stippled, similar to the 2022 Beijing Olympic model from earlier. Anthracite. Yeah, I mean, that's it. It's really interesting for what it is. Everything's engraved in, and it has all the quirks that we like. And in this example, I don't mind the helium valve and all that stuff. I think it just makes it feel more like a concept prototype piece. Carbonite, Grail watch, literally. Hans says, it does look cool. And I think if we were to refer to a few models, Hublot does this a lot. And so does Casio with their Casio Oaks. They're all the black on black finishes and everything there. Still, I just enjoy it for its outlandishness. Doesn't make sense. It's so, can you imagine how difficult it would be to read the time? It's just fun. It really just is fun around it. Forbin says 60 or 12, whichever makes more clicky sounds, the better. I mean, that's it. Talking about 120 clicks. Yep. 120 click masks QC issues better than the 60. Eric, very good point. You can hide a lot of details there. Yeah. Megan mentions problem with this watch is that it's not legible to wear or read. Yeah, I have a Hublot in black on black, and they call it the Russian mafia watch, as all the NYC monsters use and wear them. So that's it. I mean, Naiad lock system, you get to enjoy the movement. That feels so weird, seeing the movement. They should have just blacked out the movement too to go with it. But you can see it's very difficult to read. It's all just shadows and lighting, and I guess that's why I enjoy it. It's kind of like a study, not so much a anything practical at the end of the day. Wilson, this was a presentation of a master. Hardly. I don't even know what it sounded like, to be honest. I've been talking, so I'm gonna have to listen back and hear if it's appropriate at all. But yeah, I woke up thinking, how is this show going to work? Is it going to be consistent? Will there be anything worth listening to? But apparently something worked. Thank you for that, really, Wilson. 360 click bezel. Now that's an idea. Can you imagine? Can you imagine the scale of that? So Eric is now, they're doing their bets, 355, 402. I'm probably going to call it. I'll call it in the next minute. How's that? Helium valve nonsense. We keep flicking through. Okay, we're back to the fist shot again. So the question is, which watch has won this segment? I could, because I do have all the little thumbnails lined up. Which watch has won the day? Of all the, I think this one does just has something above the shade of gray that is so perfect. I mean, that's it. I do love the color. It's a funny thing. This watch makes no sense as a diver on the right-hand side, but on the left, on the other hand. So that's it. That is a summary of some of the best releases of Q1 2021. And we'll have 3 more of these, hopefully, over the course of the year. I don't know how I'm going to cope during the summer months, trying to run these shows in like scalding heat, but we'll try. And it's nice because it just sums up some of the best launches that we've seen over the course of the year. And Megan says, stop with the fist shots. If anyone out there who's watching, who's done these fist shots, stop doing it, especially on publications. I don't mind social media, but it looks so bizarre. These watches are meant to be seen on wrists. It's been good. It's been a good time. And anyone else, great show. It's my pleasure. My pleasure, Eric. And Turbo T2, the chair fund, thank you. I've got to get one damn good chair. I've got to find something that's gold-plated or something, on top of it. So it's pretty impressive. What's the one thing I wanted to try and underline along with this. I mean, an absolute dream of a watch. It's quite impressive seeing how much has been launched over the course of 3 months and what is out there for us. And hopefully this is a good resource for future reference if anyone would like to look back at the shows and see just the sheer variety of pieces that aren't discussed on YouTube. I mean, this was the watch that everyone was talking about. So many of these other pieces go under the radar and deserve all that love. Thank you. I saw a super chat from Mark. Mark, thank you so much. And happy Easter. I mean, Easter Sunday now, 10 to 2 in the UK. I can't freaking believe it. Make wrists, not fists. That's one of the best comments of the evening. Buck, thank you. And Carrie, my pleasure, my absolute pleasure. You have been such an excellent audience. Hope you've enjoyed listening to me prattle on for 3 hours. We'll do another wrist shot week. Let me close this off. This has actually been I'm surprised how, stop, am I doing that right? Yeah. I'm actually surprised at how streamlined that formula was. And Samurai mentioning Rolex Explorer April. Yes, it's exciting. I'm actually very excited to see what they bring out. I really hope my one thing is I really hope they don't ceramic the bezel, and I really hope that they just streamline it a bit more, make it thinner, make it a bit more, ergonomic. I don't know if that's the best word. The Explorer is a line of watches that has so much potential. And speaking of which, come Q2, when I do the best watches of that segment, Rolex will be first. So that'll be fun. And so it goes. 4 times a year, we get to sit back and chat about just, I don't know, what'll be 120 watches, essentially. Thomas, thank you so much again. All of you guys, it's been a lot of fun. I hope you will have an excellent Easter weekend over the next few days and spend it with the family. Enjoy good food. Enjoy good booze. All that is. Always a pleasure. Have a superb weekend and look forward, fingers crossed, that the Rolex releases are good. We'll be seeing it early next week. Should be a joy. Lots of love, ladies and gents. Take care. Look after yourselves, and we'll be seeing each other in the next one. Cheers for now.